Welcome, Underhive scumbags, to episode 6 of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. I'm Tom.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we've got a mega episode with both Genestealer Cults and the Hired Guns and the Pre-Salute discussion. And two of the guys here have managed to get a game in, so we've got plenty to speak through today. Before we start, there's a new competition, so I'm going to have a little quick chat about that. So Versatile Terrain have been kind enough in agreeing to give away either for their nameplates 12 of their personalised nameplates for either 32mm bases or 25mm bases, which customised with the names of your gang. So they're very cool, and I think if you see the battle report today, Michael's Orc Army have got those nameplates on, so you'll be able to see an example of those.
They're Goliaths, really.
Orc Goliaths. So I've got a bit to read you of essentially what the competition is and a little bit about Versatile Terrain themselves. So all you have to do to enter this competition is join our Instagram account, the Chronicles from the Underhive Instagram account. So when you go onto Instagram, just search for Necromunda Tom and just follow the group. And then all you've got to do is, all you guys on Facebook as well, is like the Versatile Terrain Facebook page. As soon as the Instagram account, which is at 500 at the moment, reaches 700, we'll then go through and pick a winner. And if that person has followed the Instagram account and also liked the Versatile Terrain account, then they'll win the 12 nameplates. I'll read a little bit about Versatile Terrain. So for people who don't know, they offer you the chance to name your characters in style with a high quality personalised 3D nameplate. Exceptional detail with 10 different fonts to choose from. They perfectly complement your characters, allowing you to bring a narrative to the tabletop. You can follow them on Facebook at Build Your Narrative or search for Versatile Terrain and shop at www.versatileterrain.co.uk. Okay, so that's all you got to do. Follow us on Instagram and join their group. And as soon as we reach 700, I'll announce the winner on whichever podcast episode that is. So nice and simple, and I'll post that on our group and some other places. I'm sure there's some other Necromunda guys that will allow me to post.
And we can't win that, so...
Well...
we're all winners in our own way.
I might have a fake account. John Martyr wins. So the competition will be posted out. That's it for this one, and next it will be what we've been up to. Welcome to the next segment. I forgot to say, the music in between is still by Frank Sparty. We had it in episode 5. We decided to give it a go in episode 6 as well. So the little bits of music in between each segment were from Frank, as discussed in episode 5. So thanks for that. This segment is what we've been up to. So I'll let someone else start off with what we've been up to.
I'll go first, since this is a Necromunda focused podcast, and I shall mention very little about Necromunda.
Boo.
This month's been a bit of a challenge, really. I've done some Age of Sigmar hobby stuff, which is working on a Count Zaz army for that, and swapping a load of bases, because when Age of Sigmar originally dropped, I was sitting on the fence about whether I'd continue playing fantasy, whether I'd play Kings of War or Age of Sigmar, so I still kept a load of square bases. I've never given up on that. I just haven't got enough hobby time for free games alongside anything else I want to play. So I just said, sod it, I'm going for round base and everything. So I've been doing that. I've been doing more reading, which was my New Year's resolution to myself, to try and get through my couple of bookshelves worth of books this year. So that's going okay. Done some gardening, I fixed my car, and then finally I got some time to do some Necromunda hobby stuff.
Yay.
So I'm working on my crane piece of scenery. I've been posting some pictures here, there and everywhere.
That's sweet.
The bottom half is done. The top half I've started to prime. I just haven't had time to do any of the converting work. And then I've promptly run out of primer, so that's as far as it's gone. But it does look considerably better in grey than it did in the yellow plastic look.
Do you use the GW primer or what?
No, this is a I can't remember the name of the brand. It's just a automotive etch primer. Yeah, it's just an etch primer, so it should stick to anything. Because a lot of my stuff is mixtures of metals, plastics, resins.
Yeah. So you don't have to go to Games Workshop and spend your money on really expensive primer. You can go down to Halfords and get yourself a rattle can for really cheap.
Yeah, I think the ones that I use, I think work out about £24 for 4 or for 6. Can't remember off the top of my head. I just get them off eBay and I'll have a stock of them in the garage.
Okay.
Do you have an airbrush? Or?
No.
Because I was going to say, go get some Vallejo primer and that stuff will last you a long time.
Have you seen how much stuff I've got to do? It might last you a long time.
Maybe, yeah, alright then.
One model a month, Aaron.
Michael's a machine.
So I managed to make a little bit more progress on that, and then the thing that I'm currently most proud of is I've devised a scenario to use that piece of terrain in a game, of which we played a game today,
indeed.
And we'll talk about that in a later segment.
Yeah. So Mr. Aaron.
Oh. So I've been in Orlando for 2 weeks, so I haven't done that much hobby stuff.
Where's my root beer?
Oh no, you know what? That's it's really weird. It's a bit like Pepto Bismol.
Yeah, it's TCP essentially, but in Coca-Cola form.
You kind of hate and love it, so that was a bit of an experience. But yeah, it was awesome. I mean, sun, food, beautiful, nice, polite people everywhere. Went to a few theme parks. Went to Disney. What's the other one? What's the other big theme park? Universal Studios, which was great. Scale of everything is just simply breathtaking. They take it to another level. But in terms of hobby, I hit quite a lot of the hobby stores out there. I went to, I think it's called the Sci-Fi City or Sci-Fi Store. Coliseum of Comics as well. They didn't have a lot to offer in terms of miniatures. They did have Games Workshop stuff, but in terms of the other stuff that we get over here, they didn't have that much. I did manage to get myself some Reaper paints, which is a little bit harder to get over here, so they were a couple of bucks each, so I grabbed a few of those.
Is that right, getting them back on the plane?
Yeah, it's fine. As long as they're in a suitcase, and you're not actually bringing them onto the plane.
I've got green underpants. You open the case and it's been squashed.
No,
I think I've got green underpants on now.
I think you're brown.
Everything survived. Yeah, I've got some Reaper paints, which is pretty good. Their paints are amazing. I think they're my new favourite paints at the moment. They just finish really nice, and they've got good coverage. And what else? I've got to give a shout out to Tim Fisher on some recommendations. I tried to hit many of the things you recommended, but alas, when it came to food, my companions were a little less reluctant to explore the culinary tastes of USA.
If they were less reluctant, does that mean they was really enthusiastic about it?
I don't know, they were a little bit funny about tasting the lights of all the lovely places.
Until you said food, I thought you were talking about strip bars and stuff.
No.
Recommendations of places to go.
Yeah, we are talking about food places, no naughty places.
Not the
but I
places,
did hit Miller's Ale House, which was brilliant. They had some really nice food, and it was served by a hunky guy called Jose. And if Jose is listening, love you, man.
Sounds like a story for another podcast.
No, he was a cool dude.
Fan fiction, Necromunda fan fiction.
He made us feel like royalty out there, which is brilliant. But yeah, I've been back for a week now, trying to acclimatise to the difference between time zones. So it's been 5 hours, including the one app, the clock's going forward. So that's been a bit difficult. But I managed to get a Genestealer Cult army together, and I managed to make a few lists, and we should talk about them later on. But that's essentially me.
Awesome. Okay, I know that I've been getting ready to move house, so most of my stuff is now in boxes. So I've finished my Goliaths. They're all done, all based, all ready. So they've had photos, they've been on Instagram and done the Facebook and stuff. So they're completely finished. I was trying to get the Promethean Forge stuff finished entirely, but because half of the stuff was packed away, I've only been able to base coat them black, and I've been adding silver just to get them to the level where we could play on it today.
Yeah.
So half of it's completely done. The other half, unfortunately, until I get into the new house and get the airbrush out, I won't be able to do the panels and bits and pieces and then touch up the rust. So that won't get done till we move. So depending on when our moving date is and how long it takes for me to set up my room, then that will be when those models get that stuff gets finished. But terrain is my next project to be done, so it'll be the MDF and the stuff that Mark had sent us, the 3D printed stuff.
You have like a dedicated hobby room in your new place.
That was the only reason I agreed to move. Because we got the fourth bedroom will just be my dedicated hobby room.
So lucky.
Display cabinets and everything. I won't leave that room.
Well, the place that I'm getting, I have to maybe build a sort of shed or something in the garden for my dedicated hobby room, because it's a flat with 1 bedroom, 1 living room. So
you live in London.
If you live in London, you get stung.
Yeah. This 1 foot by 1 foot place. This is £100 a month.
Well, yeah, sorry.
No, so I mean that's it. So while my stuff's all packed away, I was lucky enough to be able to pull some models and bits and pieces out of boxes that are already sealed. But essentially, all my stuff is away now, so there's nothing until I've moved. But apart from looking forward to getting to Sloot and buying more stuff that needs to be packed. But yeah, that's it for what we've been up to. I'm going to stop it here, and I've just remembered we haven't taken our podcast selfie, so I'll do that now. Okay, so next will be confirmed news. Welcome back to Confirmed News. So there's a few bits. Warhammer Fest is in May. It's on May the 12th. I believe all tickets have gone. The London GT, I know there's a Necromunda event during that time as well, but unfortunately I can't make it during that time because I'm on my friend's stag do. So that's amazingly bad timing, but that's the 18th to the 20th of May. The brand new, we got a leak of the Van Saar models, followed by then GW releasing the video of the Van Saar. Yeah. So I like the way that like the next day, as soon as something's been leaked accidentally, the next day they've got it out. So like when I don't think the Genestealer Cult bit was supposed to have come out on there you go, another bit of confirmed news. In the newest White Dwarf there will be Genestealer Cult models, and I know since they kind of had that blurry French magazine one of it where they worked out the Genestealer. So yeah, essentially I think someone had posted the front cover of a French White Dwarf that mentioned the Genestealer Cult. So once that got leaked, the Chaos Cult. Oh yeah, so I'm saying Genestealer Cult when Michael's...
We let him carry on and keep digging deeper.
Yeah. The Chaos Cult. So yeah, once that got shown, then the very next day they started releasing the video and they started showing proper images of it, and it looks really cool. I'm really excited because I've got random Chaos Cult models where I've been converting because I've wanted to start a Chaos army and Dark Inquisitor army. So I've got Slanesh models and I've got Khorne models made from the AOS, which were my Goliaths previously, but now I've got Goliath models, so I'm going to already have 2 sets of cultists pretty much off the bat. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Nurgle themed Chaos Cult.
Well, it's definitely one of the options, and it helps with I think their rule is something about reducing the risk of injury.
That's pretty good.
I think Khorne's was in regards to re-rolling a failed wound once per turn. The Slanesh one was pretty cool. I think it was one person allows another person to activate. It doesn't have to be a champion.
It's got to be something to make them fast, isn't it?
So I think people are saying that's probably the nastiest of all of them, but hey ho, you build them because you want to model. Well, I build them because I want to model them, not because of what's the kick-ass rule. So sorry, I went well off. The Van Saar models, what we were talking about to start with, they look pretty unique, don't they?
I saw these when I was out in Orlando. I thought this was someone's little side project, and then GW released their video that they always do, and I don't know. I think it was the paint job, and I couldn't quite. I don't know. I don't like or dislike them. I'm a little bit. I don't know.
I was expecting more of the brighter green. That's what my recollection from my younger days, if I was ever young, was the sort of the bright green armour and stuff like that. And I was kind of expecting them to do a similar thing, but they were much darker.
Yeah, I think it's just
I
going
think
for
the
the theme
sculpts
now.
are fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be GW miniatures. They're going to be really good.
They're going to have a lot of plasma off the bat, because if it's the rule of what's on the sprue, a lot of them there's a big heavy plasma thingy that person's got. I can't guarantee it's a plasma cannon, but there's the one on the shoulder. One of them's dual wheeling plasma pistols, so there's going to be a lot of plasma from the start.
But you'd imagine the points cost for those is going to be fairly expensive, as everything seems to be. So it's going to really limit your numbers. If you want all that plasma goodness, it's going to be at a cost, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a feeling they'll probably have a slightly cheaper to anyone else who wanted to buy plasma, but it's still probably quite weighty. They look slightly Infinity style, because there's so much action in the moves and stuff, and they're kind of leaping, and they've got a kind of eldery sort of where they're all kind of, their feet are pointing down like they're coming down at a pace, or they're sprinting at something. Or I may stick to the conversions I've made out of Genestealer Cult models, but I don't know. I might try and mix and match, but I think the aesthetic between my Genestealer Cult conversions and them is probably a bit too jarring to be able to merge the two together. So I'm going to have a close-up look of the new GW ones and just make a choice as to what I want to go for.
Yeah, it can make a big difference when you actually see them in the flesh. Like the photographs sometimes aren't very flattering.
No.
And like you say, the paint job, sometimes you look at something, you think that doesn't look that good. Then you see someone else paint it, or you actually see the model in the case, and then you think, oh my god, it's amazing.
And also, I think this is probably one of them so far. One of them, like maybe Deluxe will be as well, where it will be a bit harder to convert anything similar. Whereas all the others, like Cawdor, you can chuck in some cultists with flames and bits and pieces, and Goliath's just big muscly dudes, and Orlocks are generally just dudes. So whereas these ones, the aesthetic is quite strong to the point where it's going to be hard to find other things that could jump in and maybe out, because my old van, so I used to, even further back when I did them without the Genestealer Cults existing, were Eldar models, so they had the kind of skin type biosuit, and I think
sort of like Guardian type
so maybe the mine were the old Guardian models, so maybe some Eldar models might work.
Do some head swaps and the way you go.
I wouldn't mind swapping their heads out. I don't like the bare head and then the synth suit or whatever it is that they've got on. Yeah, maybe just put helmets on.
Yeah, I mean, I think once it becomes properly and we can see them properly, then it might be easier to make a decision, and then we'll obviously do an episode based on the van style. But for the moment, we've obviously seen what we've seen.
Yeah.
And finally, the Escher and Goliath weapon upgrades have come out. So now we've got a decent, hefty list as well to pick from. So I've finally I can make the Escher gang I want, because I can actually pick from some different weapons.
Yeah, that's all good.
But they've also fixed the toxin rule, so essentially all those stilettos
today. Spoilers.
So so it's actually nice, and it can have some options. And now there's melter guns in there, and there's lots of other heavy stubbers back in, and all of those. So you can really have a completely different army to another gang of exactly the same guy. So it's quite cool that it's not all going to be the same people over and over. Someone will have a heavy bolter, someone will have a melter gun. I'm still terrified of getting hit by a melter gun.
Well, I'll tell you what, a mining laser to the face is not fun.
But it doesn't but it doesn't have the instant mega death rule that the melter gun does. It's amazing.
The other good thing about these arms as well, from a converting point of view, is I've got a load of the old confrontation brat gangers, ones with the bouffant hair,
right?
And they were designed to have human weedy arms on the sides of them, and since the arms and lasgun sprues from the 90s have disappeared, and they come up on eBay, but they're like 20 quid for a sprue with
and
5
metal
guns
as well.
They're plastic ones.
Oh, they're the plastic ones.
They're metal models, but the weapon sprue is plastic.
Yeah.
They're like hen's teeth. So, and everything else 40k since has been really beefed up heroic scale, and just doesn't really fit. So now with these arm options, not so much the Goliath because they're a bit muscly, but the Escher ones should certainly fit those models. And then you look all the other houses like the Orlocks and everything else, once they get their weapon option sprues, I'll have even more arms to choose from.
Yeah.
So I can see me using those again.
Arms for days.
Yeah. I think it'll be magnetising time then again.
It could well be, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered. I've got so many magnets at home, and I just can't be bothered to mess around with magnetising. It's just another thing that gets me in the way of painting. It's
I think
another step.
Yeah. I think the thing will be if you only can be bothered to paint 10 models, but you know you're going to keep flipping because there's going to be so many arms. I think the fact that, but I know what you mean, because you'll end up with a favourite and then none of the other arms get used, because I remember making a Blood Angel Commander once with so many different weapons options, but eventually I only picked 2 things, so all the rest were just sitting in a foam tray never being used. Anyway, off confirmed news a little bit. So that's what we've got for the confirmed news. So next up is the showcase, and for the first showcase, because we've got 2 today, we're going for hired guns. So we'll go through the hired guns, sort of the lore and our rosters and conversion corner, before then going to the Genestealer Cult and doing exactly the same thing for them. So a big old episode, and thankfully Michael is going to be able to do the reading for the bounty hunters, so we'll start with that. Okay, welcome back. It's lore time for Bounty Hunters and Hive Scum. So thankfully Michael is going to be the one who reads, because he is our dungeon master / sitting round reading stories to us master.
So if anyone's lacking sleep for the last couple of weeks, now would be a good time to nod your head for 15 minutes or so.
Whack yourself on standby, 15 minutes, let yourself drift off.
And here we go. So, Bounty Hunters. Bounty Hunters are amongst the toughest and most dangerous of all Necromunda underhivers. They survive in perilous conditions, living out in the wastes, pursuing outlaws and mutants through tunnels and ruins. Bounty Hunters are loners who never need nor want to be associated with a gang. They will hire their services to a gang leader though, if there are no decent bounties to be had, or if their interests are aligned. But such allegiances tend to be temporary. Bounties are displayed at all trading posts, offering rewards to anyone who brings in outlaw leaders, gangs, mutants and other criminal types. Sometimes general bounties are declared on rat-skin renegades or on underhive monsters. The rewards offered are good, but the job is a perilous one, and many bounty hunters die out in the wastes, slain by the outlaws and mutants they set out to hunt. Bounty hunters are drawn from a wide range of backgrounds. Some are erstwhile gangers and might still bear some of the distinctive trappings of their former clan house. Many abhumans also find the life of bounty hunter suits them well, for the blood warrant that serves as license and writ allows them to go where others of their kind might ordinarily be barred. Thus, it is not uncommon to see beastmen, squats and other stable abhuman strains operating as bounty hunters far from those areas set aside for their kind. Squats.
Yeah. Could you imagine like an ogre bounty hunter? Because each ogre and bounty hunter, because it'd just be like, I can't remember who I'm supposed to capture. I'll just kill everybody.
It works.
It works.
So the other section for the lore is going to be for the hive scum. So hive scum, or scummers, as all our listeners are masterless or itinerant hivers who might fight for anyone who offers them coin. Many are drunkards and down and outs, but even these have their uses, and despite appearances are quite capable of holding their own in a fight. Others are mercenaries who travel from zone to zone, making few friends or commitments, earning whatever easy money is around before moving on. Scum are too wild and independent to submit to the leadership of anyone for very long, and they hire out their services as they feel like it. Despite their carefree lifestyle and happy-go-lucky attitude, scummers are good fighters, so their services are always in demand. Many end up working for the guilders, but there are always a few willing to tag along with a gang for a share of the spoils. Hive scum are especially valuable to a newly founded gang, especially one whose fighters may be neither numerous nor especially experienced. In general, more established gangs eschew their services, preferring to rely on their own in the heat of battle. Nonetheless, Hive scum are considered a great value as cannon fodder.
Yeah, bullet magnets, meat shields, and all of those. Awesome. What we planned to do from here was each of us has picked a bounty hunter that we're going to talk about the lore of and why we like that bounty hunter. So, Erin, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first.
Awesome.
Oh, where's Mr. Hark? Here he is.
Who'd have thought Baby Oil would go for the Goliath?
Nah, he seems like a cool little dude, and I love his like little stance on the page. So
Cool.
So Kratos Hark, Goliath bounty hunter. Not all Goliaths emerge from the flesh that's disciplined and subservient. Once 1,000 cycles, something goes awry and the aberration is born. Usually failed gestations are quickly purged, but sometimes a mutation has gone more subtle. Kronos Hark was born with that most generous of gifts. Oh, dangerous of gifts, not generous. Dangerous of gifts, intelligence. He was clever enough to hide his keen mind and managed to survive long enough to make his way into one of the house gangs. Rather than fight his way up to leadership, something he could certainly have done, he sets his sights on a grander destiny. Hark is a skilled armourer and valued amongst his gangs for his ability to improve the weapons and gear of those willing to pay. His own furnace plate armour has been hardened against all manner of weapons, while his master not only hides his identity from his former masters, but can turn aside rounds. Though Hark remains tight-lipped about his ultimate ambitions, it has not gone unnoticed that he seems to be gathering allies and contacts every time he works a contract or fills a bounty. He also seems to take a special interest in jobs that oppose House Goliath. All of this makes some speculate that perhaps Hark is looking to make a permanent change of management amongst his old bosses. So this guy is pretty much
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, he's pretty much out for himself really, and to get on top he's willing to do anything, but not just use his muscles and his strength to do that. He uses intelligence, which I kind of like the whole idea. So he's a bit manipulative. He gets what he wants and is willing to do anything really, even go against his own house. But I don't know if it's his own house really. I mean, he's a Goliath guy, but he's willing to oppose House Goliath, and he's got some cool little traits as well. I
think it's like most action films where they get kicked out of their gang and now they're doing everything to kind of overthrow it, so they can then kind of jump back in. So they trying to ruin whoever's in charge's life, so they can get up, like it can all get upset.
So
action film.
Yes, I mean I won't go into detail about him. I guess everyone's got this book, but no, he's a cool guy, and I think Forge World have released some pictures of his model. It's alright, it's a cool model. I expected him to look more like the one in Gang War 2, like a little bit kind of laid back, but the model was a little bit kind of Goliath sort of orientated. I'll have to see the model up close, but yeah.
And it gives you an opportunity to convert something up as well. Yeah.
And he's got a big old pistol. Well, it's a stub cannon.
Is it a stub cannon? Is it a stub gun?
Yeah, stub cannon, yeah.
Oh wow, it's a beefy one.
Yeah, and it's got a fighting knife. I don't know if stub cannons have got knockback or it's one of his traits, so yeah. Cool.
Awesome. So Michael, me or yourself next?
You can go.
Okay, so I've picked Grendel Grendelson, the squat bounty hunter, just for the novelty of actually having a squat back. So I'll read this, and annoyingly there is some words that I know I'm going to struggle on, so let's just get through it. So, as Banajal in the famed Vega Rams mercenary company, Grendel came to Necromunda with the rogue trader Lord Constant Gerrit of the Arcadius dynasty Guard of Honour. But while his liege was entertained in the undreams of luxury Lord Henwar's Spire Palace, The abhuman members of his household, including an entire complement of Vagarams, were required to remain in the Stranger's Tower, as they were forbidden to set foot on Hive proper. In some ways, it was fortunate for Grendel that he was not present at the wing of Hemwar's palace spire, in which Constant Gerrit was being housed, was destroyed by a low-yield atomic charge planted by a rival's house. Yet, in other ways, it was unfortunate. For its subsequent household purge, Grendel was forced to flee, seeking sanctuary in the anonymous squalor of the Underhive. Despite the dire circumstances of his coming to Hive Primus, Grendelson quickly established his new life, finding gainful employ as a bodyguard to various Underhive figures. At length, he earned the right to practice as a sanctioned bounty hunter, and now serves to any master who will pay his fee. Grendel is famed for protecting his charges from the rivals and from their rivals, and subsequently claiming the bounty on the would-be assassins' heads. And so far, there has been no shortage of foolhardy rivals eager to test his skills and infamous hammer. So for this guy, he essentially protects somebody, and at the same time, while someone's trying to kill the person he's protecting, he can claim the bounty on the person he killed. So I like the squats. I love the fact that he's also got a bolt gun, because I haven't seen many of them so far in the new models, and he has a power hammer, which is sweet. And I just think it's cool to have squats back in the game. So thank you, GW. It might just be one guy, but it's awesome.
Yeah, he looks like a pretty cool character. I love. Well, they showed the model, haven't they?
Yeah. And he's in the same pose essentially as the picture. Okay. So it is cool, and that might be one that I do get. I'm not going to convert. I will actually just buy the model that comes with. Yeah, it's sweet.
You'll saw something.
It's very typical of a squat with the hammer and the yarn, and then all that. It plays to their
narrative essentially, doesn't it?
So it's all there for.
Bolt guns are good.
Bolt gun. It must be huge on him, that bolt gun.
Yes, I mean he's not the quickest. He's only got a 3-inch move, but he's toughness 4, 3 wounds. So I think he's just a nice solid protector. So if your leader's running up, he's someone who can take a shot. He's someone who can fire back.
Or sit on an objective. I mean, 3-inch move is not going to move around.
But another thing to consider although we do consider the low movement to be a bit of a hindrance. Some of the missions have you starting off one of your gangs in the middle of the board, and then the other gang is coming in from the wings. So the fact that you've got low movement, you're kind of already there. Yeah. So it's not as grim as what it first appears.
And he's also helpful for ambush missions, because he'd be protecting his person who's paying his money at that point anyway. So it does make sense. And he's got iron jaw and nerves of steel, so he's a bit tougher in that way too. So it's good, just a good solid dude to have. Yeah.
Righto, over to me. And unlike the other two guys, I picked one that was nice and easy to read.
Annoyingly, I didn't think of it. And so when I was reading it, I was like, oh, crap.
He's got all the words.
He looks a bit like Scarecrow, your guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, Batman. A bit. So without further ado, let's go on. So the most difficult part of this is actually reading the guy's name. Or it could be a girl. I don't think it's decided. So, my bounty hunter of choice is Yar Umbra. He's a void-born bounty hunter. So, this guy has vast quantities of off-world trade comes to Necromunda via the Eye of Selene. Carrying these cargoes are all manner of ships. Their crews are often made up of void-born spacers who spend their lives traversing the inky galactic winds. Yar Umbra came to Hive Primus.
Sounds like my Trump. Sorry.
Thanks for that. Did we interrupt you while you was reading?
I know I could do that myself. I'm a terrible reader. Sorry, intergalactic winds. I couldn't help myself.
Children. I shall rise above this. So, Yar Umbra came to Hive Primus on the Chartist vessel, the Halcyon Dawn. Unfortunately for Yar, when his ship left, he was not on it. For he was intentionally marooned by the deckmaster for some unknown infraction, which some say was centred around what it is that he hides beneath his hood. So he's an international intergalactic man of mystery. Embittered by his abandonment, Yar yearns to return to the stars and has turned his talents to claiming bounties in the hopes that one day obtaining passage on a vessel and hunting down the Halcyon Dawn. In the interim, Yar has found that though he despises his planet-bound existence, he is very much at home in the confined tunnels of Necromunda. The stinking depths of a hive are much the same as those of the Void Ship, if even a bit more forgiving. And equipped with enviro filters and gas plugs, Yar is well protected from local hazards. Darkness is an environment Yar knows well, and with his custom more patterned long las, even a flicker of movement is enough for the void-born sniper to bring down his prey. So,
cool, he's a sniper.
That's kind of why I picked this guy, really, as a sniper model that you can add into whichever gang that you fancied. And he's got some pretty sweet combination of skills that help him out. His las gun is just a las gun, but I'd be treating him as someone to pin down an enemy model at range, because you've got 24-inch range, which is pretty handy.
Is it no different, the las gun?
He's got a telescopic sight on it.
Okay.
So that helps. And then that, along with he's got infiltrate. So
nice.
You can basically set him up in a nice advantageous shooting position. He's got marksman and overwatch. So in combination, that gives him some deployment shenanigans. It gives him some target priority shenanigans, because you don't have to pick.
Is that what marksman does?
Yep. So you can pick a target further away. You don't need to take your call checks.
Cool.
And he's got overwatch as well, which allows you to shoot at enemy models during their turn. So that messes with the turn sequence and basically allows you to shoot twice. Because you get to shoot in your opponent's turn when they're moving some of their models, and you also get to shoot in your own turn.
So you still get, it doesn't ruin your own activation.
No,
nice.
So that's quite handy. And then with his telescopic sight, he gets +1 to hit at long range.
Yeah.
So, and he's already got a ballistic skill of 2.
Oh wow, okay.
So he's hitting on 1+. Okay, 1 is always a foul, but that means that you can shoot at people that are in cover.
Yeah.
And still be pretty reliable.
That's only if he aims, though. He gets the +1 for long.
Yes, you could be right.
Yeah.
But if he's up in his, if you've got him in a favourite position, then so you just pin.
Yeah, with a strength 3 gun, you can't guarantee you're going to injure someone every time, but it's plentiful ammunition, so ammo checks aren't an issue. And you just have him pinning someone.
Because he would have been cool for the top of the crane, wouldn't he? Just plinking at the top of the crane while he's moving.
Just put him anywhere on the board with a good line of sight. So yeah, I really like him in that respect.
Oh, it sounds cool. I didn't even think there was a sniper one.
Strength 3 on the gun. It's a bit
rubbish, but you don't need you don't need to wound someone to pin them. You've only got to hit the target. So you just use them to, I don't know, if there's an enemy leader, you say, right, well, I'll just try and pin them.
Yeah.
If you wound them, but...
Or knock the heavy weapon guy out.
Yeah, and the heavy weapon guy is pinned, so he can't shoot next turn, you know?
Yeah, because if he's not got bulging biceps, then that's him out for that turn of standing up.
And he's also one of the cheaper bounty hunters as well. Like someone, I think the squat guy was something like 280.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I think the Goliath one, not sure how much he was, but he was well over 200. Let's flick through the book, because that's always good. He's 220, so he's fairly cheap as well. So I thought that 220 was a reasonable price to pay for a sniper that can shoot out of turn, and potentially mess up your opponent.
I'd like a bounty hunter with needle rifle. I didn't actually end up doing that for mine, but I think a bounty hunter with a needle rifle, that toxin rifle, would be horrible. Oh.
Yeah. Spoilers.
Yeah. Actually, that's not my done. Okay, so that's it for the lore parts. What we're going to do for the roster is we've all designed our own sort of bounty hunter, and we will be first discussing who we picked and why and what sort of weapons we picked for them, and then we'll go to conversion corner, which is if we were going to make those models out of things that don't exist, what would we use? So first up will be the roster. So that's it for this section. Okay, so it's roster time, and Michael has volunteered to go first with his bounty hunter.
Okay, so the bounty hunters, I'm a little bit on the fence with their use in the game, simply because of the high cost of buying them in and the fact that they're there for a limited period of time. I think they're an excellent way of adding flavour to a gang that might initially be a bit nondescript and not have a bit of character. So I can see playing games at a relatively low level, starting gangs, and just allow people to spend there's a certain amount of credits creating a gang, and then say, right, you can have up to 250 credits to create a bounty hunter of your choosing, just to give them something to start with.
Cool.
Because some of the initial gangs can be a little bit bland.
Yeah.
Also, when you're creating your bounty hunters, the way it's written in the book is that you choose your equipment, or it tells you what equipment you can have up to 150 points, credits worth of equipment, and then once you've done that, you then do your skills. The skills are completely random, which is fine. That's a kind of fun way of doing something.
You pick the tree, but then you roll d6.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't guarantee what you're going to get. I think they might have been better, we would have settled in my mind a little better, is when they say about creating a bounty hunter, is that you roll for your skills first,
and then
you can pick equipment to suit it. Because it would be so easy to fall into the traps. I want to buy this gun, or I want to buy this weapon, and then you roll your skills and you don't get anything that benefits that, and then you end up with a very expensive model to use in a game that isn't going to be that effective. Maybe that's where these made up ones by Games Workshop come into play, because they've managed to craft their. You can't tell me they rolled them up. They just created them to make something cool. Which is arguably what we would do anyway for friendly games.
Because it would suck if you got bulging biceps but never had anything unwieldy.
You just got a pistol weapon and a knife. So it's just a bit of a quirk, really. And it also leads into some abuse, because if you're playing random individuals and they say, it's all I think is my bounty hunter that I've created, that'd be cool, and then you find out that they've got two skills that perfectly match the bit of equipment they've got and the stat line and everything else, and you think, did you really roll that randomly?
I guess you'll have to do the rolling just before
pre-game.
Pre-game.
So, but then if you're doing that, then you might not have a model that represents it, and so it's a bit weird. But I like the idea of it, and I will be using bounty hunters. But anyway, so moving on from my reservations about bounty hunters, we move on to what I rolled, and yes, I did roll it.
You rolled your bounty hunter?
Yeah, I rolled.
Yeah.
So is it?
Yeah. I rolled all mine, got all the things I wanted.
I didn't roll this. I mean, sorry, you meant for the skills. I thought you meant for because there's 3 different types of bounty hunter as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I picked Profile 1. Let me find the page and then we can sort of discuss that properly. Flicking through books, always good. So Profile 1 is the one that's got the highest amount of movement, of 5 inches. Other than that, his ballistic skill and weapon skill is 3+, so that's good on average. It's lowest toughness, so you don't want to be getting them in a fight necessarily, because they're going to get injured fairly easily. They've got 2 wounds. I'm not sure why you'd want to take a bounty hunter with only 1 wound. That seems a bit of a liability to me. And other than that, his other stats seem quite reasonable. So, with that in mind, he's got mesh armour, which I believe he comes with as standard.
Yeah, they can either have flak or mesh armour.
Okay. So, I gave him a combat shotgun, I gave him a power sword, a fighting knife, and a las gun. So he's got 2 rifle type weapons for ranged shooting. If one of them jams or runs out of ammunition, he's got a fallback weapon. And then close combat wise, he's got a power sword, so he can do a bit of parrying to try and defend himself with his low toughness. He can try and deflect those hits against you. And it's a power weapon, which is always good. And the fighting knife as well, so that gives him the backstab ability if he manages to get around into a good position. Shooting wise, I gave him the skill of precision shot. Well, I rolled precision shot, and this would work well for the las gun and also work okay for the shotgun when it's firing solid shot. So that's kind of cool. I went for cunning and got infiltrate, which is nice because it means you can at least put him somewhere on the board that might be advantageous, so you can start taking plinking shots.
Cool.
Straight from the start. And then I rolled for combat and got step aside. So that is another layer of protection along with the sword. So you can kind of parry first of all, and then if anything gets through, then you can attempt to step aside.
Cool.
So hopefully that will keep that bounty hunter alive a bit longer.
Sweet.
And that came in at 230, so it's still fairly cheap as bounty hunters go.
Awesome. So, do you want to go next, Aaron?
Yep, I'll go next. So I went the same route as Michael. I went for the stat line 1, which is the 5-inch movement as well. I wanted to create some sort of kind of stealthy, sort of kind of bounty hunter that targets one specific person and tries to take him out. It was a bit hard when you roll on the skills chart. I think you should be able to pick your skills so you can really kind of make your bounty hunter the thing that you want it to do, really. So I picked, because I think it should be like same with psychic powers in the new 40k, you should be able to pick your powers. So I picked my skills for the bounty hunter. So I went with backstab, evade and infiltrate. So this guy wants to infiltrate behind the enemy lines. He wants to find his target, charge and take him out before the other person can do any sort of reaction attacks. So I've given him a power sword so he can get in there. If he does get attacks back, he can parry those attacks. He's also got a bolt pistol and choke grenades. So choke grenades work not against their toughness. So if you've got some high toughness guys, you can take out pretty much anyone in a big blast. And war gear wise, he's got mesh armor and an armored undersuit as well, which gives him +1 to his armor save. So he would essentially get a 5+ armor save. I think it's 5+. Yeah, mesh armor's 6, and the armored undersuit gives you a +1. So we've got a 5+ save, and that is my guy, really. So he goes in there, tries to find his target, tries to choke him with a grenade. If he can't, gets in there, tries to slice him up in hand-to-hand combat. But that's essentially my dude, and that came in at 230 points as well.
I'd be tempted to throw a fighting knife on him as well, because you've given them the backstab skill.
Yeah.
That stacks with your increased strength.
Yeah.
And your high movement. Because if you've got a knife or a weapon that already gives you backstab, and you've got the backstab skill, then you get +2 to your strength.
Yeah.
So that would make him strength 5.
I would make him strength 4.
Yeah, because you get normally you'd be strength 4 with backstab.
Oh, okay.
And then because
5.
you've got the skill as well, it'd make it strength 5.
Maybe.
So for the cost of a knife, that might not be a bad addition.
Yeah, I was struggling. Maybe I could take the choke grenade out. I like the idea of...
You already have the limit of 150.
Yeah, 150.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe I could swap the power sword out, but I like having the power sword on one of my main guys.
Yeah.
Maybe I could swap that out for maybe a knife, or I could play around with that. Maybe take the choke grenade out and...
Is there a cheaper grenade option? What about something like smoke or...
Frag and...
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'd just be tempted to try and maximise on that backstab.
Yeah.
If that's the kind of sneaking up behind someone and knifing them sort of look. Still,
I think it's really hard to tailor your bounty hunter if you're randomly rolling on.
Yeah, that's right.
I went down tricky. All cunning.
Yeah.
Down the cunning path because I like that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
good.
Yeah. So that's my guy. Yeah. The 2 wounds. I needed 2 wounds on the guy just in case he just gets one-shotted and just taken out of the game. I mean.
Yeah, it does seem like a liability. That profile that's only got 1 wound.
Yeah.
But that's the one I've gone for.
It's interesting to hear then.
Well, with mine, I've actually done a 2 bounty hunter as a double team because I did the thing I wanted to do, Dog the Bounty Hunter and Beth. So my idea for Dog the Bounty Hunter was the actual 4-inch move guy. So because he's got a higher toughness than the 5-inch move guy. I know he's got 1 less wound, but I wanted him to be a bit more of a bruiser, and he's got the 2 attacks, which the other 2 don't. So I wanted him to be more of the hand-to-hand running in, making stupid decisions sort of one, and then Beth is running up after him, and I saw her as more of a squat model, so I'm gonna, obviously because she's shorter as well, so I'm gonna use
She's
Beth.
going to be a cube of plastic, isn't she?
Yeah. So Beth is going to be, but we'll talk about the conversion bits after. So essentially, Dog's more of the human muscly guy, and then Beth will be my squat model. So Dog, I forgot about the rule in regards to the maximum amount of credits that you could spend. I didn't even think about the credit. I just wanted to make a Dog and
cool.
Beth bounty hunters. So they both, Dog comes with a bolt gun and auto pistol. I thought to give him a servo claw because I thought that if Dog went to the 40k universe, he'd probably just have a big fist to punch stuff with. And I was checking out the grenades because I hadn't looked at the grenades before. I thought to give him scare grenades because I like the idea that he's screaming down at the people and terrifying them. And the scare grenade, let me have a look.
It calls fear.
Yeah, and then so looking at fear, I thought it looked quite cool. So instead of making an injury roll, they all take a nerve test, subtracting -2 from the result. If they fail, they automatically break and run for cover.
Nice.
So you could scatter a load of people into different direction. I just thought that'd be quite a cool idea that he can, if there's a group of people into a house, he's kind of shouting that he's here, but it's in the mechanic, he's a grenade. Instead of everyone running around going, "Oh my God, Dog's here!" in the mechanic, it will be that he's just essentially throwing a grenade in, and whether they either do run away in fear because of it or they don't. But I noticed that this also has the gas thing because it's got fear and gas.
Yeah.
So then they've got the potential to leg it for cover, but they also suffer from the gas thing. So roll a d6. And it's the toughness again. If it's a natural 6, it will. So the fighter is hit by the attack, is hit by a gas weapon. They are not pinned, and a wound roll is not rolled. Instead, roll a 6. If higher than the toughness or a natural 6, then make the injury roll. So not only do they run in fear, but they can also have the potential in losing in rolling for injury without armor saves. So that was pretty cool. And for Beth, and I also wanted to give them webbers because I thought if they're bounty hunters, they probably want to try and web the person that they're trying to capture. So they both, and so Beth is the 3-inch movie sort of one. So again, 2
High
wings.
heels.
Yeah. So like Grendelson.
Wonder what's weighing them down.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted a female squat model. I'll explain it when we get to the conversions. So in regards to her close combat weapon, I want to give her a stiletto sword because I haven't given anyone a sword. And also the flash grenade. Because I think that also looked cool. So the flash is a 5-inch blast, and if a fighter is hit by a flash weapon, no wound is made. Instead, an initiative check is made. If they fail, they are blind. A blinded fighter loses their ready marker. If they do not have a ready marker, they will not gain a ready marker at the next turn. Until that turn is activated, they cannot make attacks other than reaction attacks. For any which are hit, for any rolls to hit, succeed on a natural 6. So if she came and threw a grenade into a close knit of people, they all lose their ready. If they fail their initiative, they all lose their ready moves. And if someone attacks, they only hit on a 6. And because I've noticed that at the moment, because no one uses the grenades, not many people have also given them the goggles.
Yeah.
So like none of the armies that any of the games we've ever made have got those goggles. Yeah. So if I can get Beth in and throw that flash, however many people that hits, that would all, if they fail their initiatives, that will be all those. So say it's Goliath with a poor initiative roll, that will be all those people blinded and just swinging around the place and losing that turn of thingy. So Dog can just come in and just bonk, 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 and no one can really reply unless they roll a 6. So I just thought they might work in it together. Like for one turn they can blind a load of people or scare them, and it depends on the models themselves. So I can work out who would be good to throw the grenade and who would be good to run in and charge. So they probably wouldn't work in a game system in regards to, because no one's going to have the money to buy 2 lots of bounty hunters. But at the same time, it could be a mission where one of you guys picks 5 models and one of those is the bounty. They've all got to protect themselves from the 2, and it basically the equivalent in points costs. So the bounty hunters have got to try and catch them, and you've got to try and stop them.
You can easily craft your own your own mission.
Yeah.
You know, and just create that scenario that allows you to play the game how you want to play it.
Yeah.
And just give it a go.
Yeah, and at the moment you can only have one bounty hunter per list.
Yeah.
But
so this is more of a scenario.
The other gang is compensated in some manner, whether that means they can hire one bounty hunter and I don't know, have more gangers or something, or they get more out of the game if they survive it.
But yes, essentially this was more for a scenario sort of bounty hunters, and I didn't roll for the skills. I just thought because that happens at the game, so I thought, well, they're either going to have brawn, combat, or ferocity. Sort of, they're all kind of up close, and none of them really. Neither of the two of them are agile. None of them need the cunning. So I've just basically gone for brawn and strength for both of those. But that's essentially my two bounty hunters. So next up will be, if we were going to make them, how would we make them? And in Conversion Corner. So I will stop and we will be back after that. It's Conversion Corner, so we got a tiny bit mixed up, all of us, so we've all found different ways to have filled this segment up. I'll go for Michael first, and he can explain what he's done.
Yeah, I did my homework wrong. I didn't read the question properly. I thought we was going to be discussing how we'd make the bounty hunter that we chose for the lore. Rather than the one that we rolled up and created ourselves. But nonetheless, it's still valid. So for Yar Umbra, the super sniper, I've chosen a model from Heresy Miniatures, which is Miss Spectre. She's basically it's a female model. She's got bald head and a trench coat, so it's very much a Delac sort of looking model. So assuming you was going to fit that into the Delac gang, or even have it as a contrasting aesthetic to go with any other gang. She's got the las rifle, which is what you need. And then for the breathing apparatus, the respirator side of things, you could either take bits from the Goliath sprues, because they've got respirators and things on there, or the Imperial Guard stuff for 40k. I'm sure there's little tiny respirator pieces that you can put on the front of the guys. I think they're supposed to be like comms things for comms, but you can just say that that's a respirator. And I think that's pretty much what I would use.
Cool.
Well, this is great for people that don't want to actually go out and spend a fortune on the model. They can, you can
just buy a one-off model. Okay, it's probably going to cost you £7 or £8 or something for a model, and then a very tiny bit of conversion work. You don't even have to put the respirator on it, to be fair. As long as your opponent knows that they've got one, then it's all good. Or you just say it's in their pocket and they'll bring it out when they need it.
Yeah.
What scale are the Heresy Miniatures? Are they hero scale or?
I think they're 28. I think that one was 28mm scale. So it's not necessarily, doesn't state whether it's heroic scale, but they do a whole gang of these ones with the trench coats and the bold heads, obviously to take up the slack when Games Workshop weren't supporting the likes of Necromunda. So you could potentially get their entire gang.
I've seen people do it.
Yeah. And they're nice looking models.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
It'd just be interesting to see what Games Workshop come up with
I look forward
to their
seeing
ones
them
in the future.
So they haven't actually officially released pictures of this model, this Umbra guy?
No, I haven't seen it.
I don't think it has been, no. So the imagery in the book, he shows him with like a sackcloth covering his head. So he's hiding what he looks like. It could be anything under that.
Kind of looks like Cobra Commander. Go for that.
Going back for the 80s.
That looks awesome! Cobra Commander.
So you could potentially do head swaps from some of the Chaos Cultists. They've got type of sackcloth type of thing over the heads.
One of them definitely does. Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Putting that onto any other miniature that happens to have a las gun. So
I think Aaron's just had a brainwave.
Oh my god! For future, DGI Joe team, that would be awesome.
Write that down.
Yeah, Cobra Commander in there. Okay.
Next, you're gonna have to have mask, and then motorbikes into helicopters and stuff.
Oh my god, all the stuff.
All the 80s.
All the 80s, yeah. G.I. Joe. He-Man, that would be good.
You got Goliaths.
Yeah. Alright.
Just need battle cat.
Furry pants and muscles, that's it. Alright, let's go into mine. So, I've always loved orcs, and the guy that I was trying to create was kind of stealthy. So, I opted for Orc Boss Snickrot's body. It's got that kind of hunched over, stealthy kind of look, which is pretty cool. I'll probably change one of the heads to... I don't know if you guys have seen it, the Max Mini Tech Freak orc heads. They're all kind of mechanical, and they've got mechanical jaws and bits and bobs on their heads. It's all kind of scrappy, which kind of suits that Necromunda theme. And I bought some, so I might do that. I'll probably swap out both his knives to one with a bolt pistol and one with a power sword. I might grab one of the power swords from Cromlech, but depending on, I don't know if the Goliath weapon set has any power swords. I don't know if they have.
I can't remember.
I can't say I saw one on it.
No,
because they're much more chunky.
Yeah, I've got old maces, the weird round maces.
So that might have to be from a third-party seller. So I'll have to look at Cromlech, because they've got some pretty cool chunky orc kind of weapon.
Yeah, they do like some orcs, don't they?
Yeah, they love them. So, and then I'll paint it up in some kind of power swordy kind of paint scheme. And I won't use a proper bolt pistol. I'll probably use like a stub gun or something a little bit more chunkier than like a Space Marine bolt pistol. I think it's kind of flimsy on an orc, so I'll probably use that. Snickrot he's got some skulls that kind of drape down. I'll probably chop them off. I think they're a little bit gimmicky, kind of a bit too Warhammery, if that's a word. So I'll probably replace them with like a bullet kind of belt or a loincloth or something sort of like that. And then next I'll probably go in with some green stuff to sort of sculpt in this sort of like a cloak or a head scarf or something that sort of drapes over him to accentuate that kind of stealthy kind of look about him. I think that's it. I've never done a lot of green stuff, so I'll have a go at that, but that'll probably be way down the line for me, as I have so many projects. But maybe this could be sort of my salutes kind of look out for thing. Yeah. But yeah, that's my guy.
Because I know that the old orc models used to have some bolt guns and bolt pistols.
Yeah.
And I think maybe even a chaos gun, but maybe shaving off if there's any chaosy bits, because they've got the ammo belt that's more loose rather than an actual pack. So that might make it look corky enough.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look actually. But that's essentially my guy.
Cool. I mean, for mine, obviously, I've kind of spoke about it a few times. So, dog would be kind of like not as muscly as a Goliath, but slightly probably more kind of exposed than an Orlok would be. So I was thinking combat trousers for the legs. Bare arms, so either Katachan or something along the lines of having exposed muscles.
Yeah, that worked quite easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I know I'd green stuff those bicep bands that he likes to have around his arms, little bits of string around. I'd be either getting a Katachan kind of bare chest, where he's wearing a vest, but you can see his abdomen up front, or a flak armour thing, because I know they always go in when dog goes in, he's wearing flak armour. And then I'd either get a bearded guy and then try and green stuff in some longer hair, or get a longer haired guy and try and green stuff in a beard. Either that, or trying to find some sort of neck, because I know he kind of keeps going on about his Native American stuff, and that might be the only way I can get like the hair and the beard kind of right from an actual modelling standpoint. So if I can find some sort of, I don't want to use, because all of the rat skins are kind of metal, and I was thinking that one of the bounty hunters, the old bounty hunters was bare chested and had long hair, and then all they'd have to do is green stuff the beard. But I'm not a fan of metal models and converting in bits and pieces. But I have been starting to convert green stuff hair and bits and pieces, and I'm starting to feel a bit more confident in that. So I might give that a go again.
What about the Orlok guys that have just come out? Haven't they got sort of beards and Longest one.
I think it's more. I think it's because if I'm trying to do it like Dog, I'd want to do it in this because he's kind of gone for that sort of Native American theme where he's got like kind of braids with feathers in it and stuff like that. So it would just be another way of me pushing myself, whereas it's not just green stuffing in gaps, it's now trying to do extra bits to try and push myself. So I'd do it as more of a project. For Beth would be, I'm just going to try and go to Salute and see if I can find a female dwarf model and then just 40k that up. And so just adding cables and bionic eyes and bits and pieces, and then trying to find trying to get stiletto sword will be easy enough because I've got plenty of them from my Escher models, a bolt pistol, and maybe even a Weber, see if I can strap one to the back or whatever. But essentially it was just going to be, most of my work on that model will be 40k'ing up a female dwarf model. There's quite a few out there. I've seen quite a lot on Google, so I'll see what I can see at Salute and see if I can find one myself, and if not I'll just have to order one.
Find like a steampunky kind of little
just a little stocky lady, and then just see what I can do from there. But that's essentially it for the showcase. The Dog's most difficult bit will be the head, I think, and Beth will be 40k'ing up the body. So that's it for the conversion corner, and that's it for all the hired guns part. Next up, it will be the Genestealer Cults. Watch your back and watch out for anything that's purple. Okay, we're finished with the hired guns, and now it's on to Genestealer Cults, the purpley, long-tongued, four-armed beasties of Necromunda.
What about the Genestealer Cult?
What did I say?
Aaron's gone off sedated.
I've just realised what Aaron's meant. Yes, this is the Genestealer Cult bit, not my description of Aaron's choice at the Pleasure Dome. Michael is very kindly going to read out the lore before we go through our very different lists, and I think it's quite cool because Aaron had a game today of the Genestealer Cult, and we've got to see some of the weapons in action.
And I'm wearing a Genestealer Cult t-shirt.
Yes, you are, and you can see that. Oh, you only just noticed. He's infiltrated his way into Aaron. He didn't even see it coming.
It must be the hypnotizer.
Yeah. You'll get to see this in the podcast selfie. So you'll see our new Chronicles from the Underhive t-shirt and Mr. Michael's Genestealer Cult t-shirt. So that'll give you something to look forward to.
Righto, here we go. So, Genestealer Cult, my favourite. Like the dark legends of Hive Secundus, is one whispered from the crystal salons of the spire to the grimy gambling holes of the hive bottom. It is a cautionary tale, and for the record, Aaron is laughing at the word bottom. We have fallen that far.
Sounds like that joke from what was the old Channel 1 TV show where guy with the beard, I can't even remember the guy. It was and they had Mr. Blobby in it. Noel Edmonds. Wasn't one of the places called Saggy Bottom or something like that?
Crinkly Bottom.
Crinkly Bottom, that's it.
Sorry, American listeners, you'll have no idea what we're talking about.
Old English TV shows.
And to be fair, half the English listeners probably won't know because they'll be too young.
Yeah.
Because we're old.
True.
Moving on. It's a cautionary tale of how an entire hive fell prey to an alien cult, and even now the Xenos being brooding deep within Secundus, reached out across the waste to spread its vile spore. Barely a century ago, Hive Secundus was a mighty centre of industry and culture, yet it was laid low by the actions of tech priest biologist Hermistus, who in his hubris believed he could concoct an antigen to the Genestealer infestation. When the heretical experiments were disastrously awry, Hermistus damned himself to the Genestealer tank and Hive Secundus to the nuclear fires of purgation. One of the tendrils to have worked their way past the defences was the Cult of the Second Sun. The Cult of the Second Sun grows in the dank darkness of several hive cities, guided by the faint psychic signal emanating from Secundus, and spreads its influence as its distant patriarch directs them. And then at the end it says, I am Ron Burgundy. It's some sort of in-joke, I'm guessing, because Tom there and alarm.
I don't understand why they keep giving these guys like really long weird names. Herminitis.
Because it's spacey, waste.
Yeah, it's the future. Hermitis sounds like something you caught from Pleasure Dome.
Exactly. So I'll be like tech priest, biologist, John or Harry.
I just wrote I am Ron Burgundy to see if you would read everything that's written in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Because he did it in the film. Who put a question mark at the end? He literally reads everything there.
I am Ron Burgundy.
So it appears that I can get Michael to say something if I write at the end of a law segment.
Oh, remember this.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So yeah, the top 3 features of the Genestealer Cult. So they're dirty Xenos, they've got extra arms and claws, and the abundance of purple.
They're not dirty, they're lovely.
Yeah, you just got to accept their love.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the sculpts, well, there wasn't really ever any old sculpts, so there's not been. Well, there
was
kind of.
Yeah, you had the original metal sculpts from, I guess, back 2nd edition 40k sort of era.
But it wasn't Necromunda. Was it?
But it wasn't Necromunda
40K.
biased. It was for 40k, or for Space Hulk essentially.
Yeah.
But because they're the old metal sculpts, they're 2D, very 2D, very linear. The arms are very close to the bodies, so trying to convert those would be an absolute nightmare, virtually impossible.
And with the Patriarch sitting on the sofa.
Sitting on his throne. There was a later one with him running, but that eventually became a Broodlord, and such. But the metal ones, you could get away. There's just enough in the range that you could make a gang of distinct, different models. But your weapons loadout would be chosen based on what the model had, rather than what you might choose to have for them. Okay. So ultimately now you're much better served because your choices for creating the gang is either a bunch of neophytes, which you've kind of got to have because they're your gangers, and then your acolytes.
Aberrants.
And aberrants. Aberrants are a bit of a tricky one because there isn't a separate model available for that yet. It's only been available in the Deathwatch Overkill box set.
That's it. That's where I see it.
So you can't buy it individually. So therefore, loads of people have been converting them up from anything.
I don't understand why GW hasn't released those.
I hope they're waiting until they get a decent sprue. And it'll have more than 2 weapon options because at the moment.
But the parents only have 2 weapon options at
the moment. Yeah, but that's only because that's what the models have. I'm hoping that they'll release a multi-part kit that will give them, if not more options, just more posability.
I've also got a feeling that I remember seeing a video trailer for a new kill team. So if new kill team's coming out, then it might be that. If there is, then there might be 2 like overkill. Yeah. There might be
something different in that.
Yeah, and it might be Genestealers again. Yeah, possibly.
Let's hope
Lots of maybes and maybes.
And then you'll need a leader model, which will be either a Primus or a Magus from the current range. So they're kind of available. So you're going to end up buying 2 boxes of models. And then, to be fair, you don't, to make your leader, your adept, you don't need the Magus or the Primus. You could use an Acolyte because there's an Acolyte leader model on the sprue.
That's right.
So you could buy 2 box sets of models.
Didn't you use it?
Yeah, I used for my magic flag, the cult icon.
Yeah, so you can pretty much make everything from them 2 boxes, which is kind of the same with what you're doing with the other gangs, because to make a fully fleshed out gang, you kind of need to buy 2 boxes of the models, don't you?
And I've got leftovers from where I've made my Van Sars out of Genestealer Cults, so I might be able to get away with 1 because I just need the bodies, and then everything else I've got doubles of and bits and pieces, and lots of heads because I didn't use them for that.
Yeah, and then even for the neophytes, which are your basic gangers, if anyone's got Imperial Guardsmen knocking around, you could just use those.
Yeah. Awesome. So the game style I've not really noticed too much. I kind of noticed them as being a bit like the Orlocks. There's no obvious. I mean, they're a bit more stealthy because of the skills tree that they can take, but they're not got obvious hand-to-hand weapons that are so different. I mean, they've got some cool, slightly different weapons, but it's hard to tell what they're.
Well, I think the game style for me, as a Genestealer Cult fan within 40k, I want them to be an up close in combat sort of army. But you've got the low toughness, and you've got very low movement as well. But they're pretty slow. So it's almost like they're pushing you towards a more shooty kind of setup, which is fine because you can set up within your terrain, you can advance around, and then you can take your plinking shots.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like the Goliaths in that you want to get up close, but then you don't want them to be in combat because their toughness is a bit lower.
Yeah.
So that kind of lends itself to being a more shooty, sitting back.
Yeah, I don't see them as a very close combat army, but
You've got the aberrants.
Some of their guys are really good at close combat.
Yeah, the aberrants are born for close combat because you haven't got any ranged weapon options. But with their slow movement, it's really difficult to actually get them where you want them.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine that your opponent's going to face you, and you put one or two of them on the table, and they're going to go, well, they look frightening, so they're going to shoot at them, and then they'll never actually get to combat.
Yeah.
Which would be a bit of a shame. And then your acolytes, they've got strength 4, so you want to be making use of that by getting them into combat. You know?
Yeah, true. In regards to unique weapons, I've picked a couple. I know I've noticed I like the Weber because that's unique.
Very awesome,
It's also quite handy. Well, I mean, we were discussing how we would play the rules earlier. So it's strength 5, and then once you've wounded, you're tangled, and that's it. But it makes you seriously injured.
Yeah.
And then me and Michael, I'm not sure Aaron was there at the time. We were discussing.
What happens from there?
If you're seriously injured from the recovery phase, do you then roll to have the opportunity to get out and then just get a flesh wound, or are you captured?
Yeah, for the whole. So it says for the whole game.
Yeah, but then it's whether once you're captured, are you captured, or do you roll to see if you can get out, and then when someone's next to you, do you have the opportunity to then break away from it?
For me, thematically, you should be in a recovery phase. You should be rolling that injury dice for that model, and then your 3 possible results are that you go out of action because you've struggled so much, you've suffocated or strangled yourself. You've given yourself a flesh wound, but you've managed to break free of the web. Or thirdly, you stay seriously injured, which means you're still stuck inside the thing. It also means that other models in your game can come along and assist you getting out, which makes more thematic sense because they can help to cut the thing, giving you that extra dice to roll.
But then it's just whether you stay like that for the whole game.
It just seems a bit harsh that on turn 1 you could get shot with this gun. Turn 1, they get past your toughness by the strength 5, and all of a sudden your model is out of the game for the whole game.
And it's a template weapon, so you could take 5 out if they're all come close to each other.
It just seems a bit harsh that you don't have the opportunity of breaking free.
125.
I'd still take that over a heavy stubber.
The other thing I like about the Weber is the fact that current rules in 40k aren't actually all that great, so I don't think I'd ever include it in an army of 40k, so that means I've got loads of weapons spare.
I've definitely got some. Another one I saw that was quite cool, and we saw was quite cool in the game that you guys had, was the mining laser. Cool. So single shot, but strength 9, which is pretty awesome. AP -3 and 3 damage. So pretty hefty.
Yeah, it's short range, which is saying that it's short range in 40k, but in Necromunda actually 24 inches is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But you do get a -1 to your shooting.
-1 to hit, isn't it? But it's really powerful.
And if you combine that with an extra arm, that means
it takes
that you
away
can,
the unwieldy.
So you can either move or aim.
Yeah.
We saw Erin one-shot one of Michael's models in the game today, which was pretty hefty.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. But if you can get that shot, it's pretty deadly. And my other one I noticed, but I haven't actually put it in my list, is the heavy rock cutter. So it's strength 4. +4. So if you've got strength 3, it's strength 7, AP -4, and then D3 unwieldy. So again, if you add the extra arm, it's not unwieldy anymore. But the thing that stopped me from putting it on a model in the end was that they only have 1 attack. So if they're charging, you have to add the extra arm to give them 2 attacks. And then do I really want to spend that much money on something that I might whiff on that
And that's
to hit, and that's the end of it?
It's definitely a theme with these special weapons, and it's one of the things I really struggled with actually making a list. Is that I think all of the weapon options there are great. They're using all the things that are on the sprue, which is the GW way of late, and each of the weapons is unique in their own little way. And they've got some really fun little twists of what they do and special rules and that, which makes them all cool. But the cost of the weapons in credits is just so expensive that it's most unlikely you're ever going to include more than one of those in a starting gang.
I think it's the starting thing. I think it's that these are all things that are cool, and you can pick maybe one, but you'll have to add them all after that, because
but I wonder how long it'll take you to actually save up the credits to actually get one, because when you bear in mind your first game or two of in a campaign, you might lose a model, so you need to be spending credits on replacing your dead.
I think
before you start splashing the cash on the toys, you know.
I think the problem is, because we've not run a campaign, it's hard to know how much is the average for normal income, how much is this and that, because it might be that the average gaining of income is maybe 50 credits plus whatever you get on whatever, and then it's like, well, now I've spent that, I've still got this many. So it might be after 2 games you find that you do have quite a bit of cash. And it's hard until, I suppose, we've played a full-on campaign, it's hard to know whether something has worked or not. But I guess at the same time, the more people that have campaigns, GW have been generally tweaking bits and pieces, and they've had an FAQ, so there's nothing to say that they won't muck about with points and bits and pieces in the future.
But I like all the special weapons. So the Weber I'm definitely going to use because I've got loads of them, and so that's all good. And each of the individual mining weapons I like. I think they've all got their place if you can get them where you want them.
Yeah.
So and that's one of the things that's also a struggle, is because of the cost. And the fact you can only probably get one of these weapons in, or you're handicapping yourself to squeeze in that second one, is it's difficult to get that feel and flavour of them being like a mining work team and stuff, because you've only just got a bunch of guys and one of them's got something a bit special. You know, it's hard to force that theme.
Unless you go mega elite.
Yeah.
In your gang list.
But you've got to have half. You've got to have half your guys being gangers, haven't you? Being neophytes.
You just don't give them a weapon.
So the only way
3 neophytes with no weapons.
Cut costs is to not have your champions, because you've got to have a leader. You don't have to have your champions, but it's your champions that help to generate your money.
But it's also the champions that are the ones that can carry the special weapons. Yeah.
You can still get a heavy weapon from the neophytes, can't you? But
neophytes can hold a special weapon.
Yeah, but not the mining, not the kind of cutters and all the big heavy duty things. They're only they're an acolyte only weapons choice.
Yeah, so you'd have to include one of those.
Weapons,
So a leader, an acolyte, 2 neophytes. So that's 4 models at the bare minimum. So maybe 5 or 6 models in your gang.
Yeah.
Bit of a risk, but tooled up to the max.
If you lose one of those guys, you're going to start to bottle it.
Yeah,
it's a bit dangerous.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Did you? So is there any other weapons that any?
Well, I was going to say, the extra arm. I think it's brilliant, especially when you stick it on a heavy weapon. You could move and then fire it, or you can aim and fire it. So you're.
Yeah, so that's a big advantage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the extra arm. It's difficult to not add extra arm to everything. There was a point where I was adding an extra arm and then thinking, I actually don't have the weapons to make that extra arm actually helpful.
But that's like an extra 50 points, is it? Or 30 points?
Yeah, it's
50 points. Yeah, so that's just more bumping on the cost of the models. It's very tricky.
I think this is one of those ones where there's so many possibilities that you can start writing a list and then instantly realise you failed the basic contingent of having enough neophytes in your gang, because you've just tooled. I know I definitely did work with my leader. I had to start pulling stuff back off them because I just tooled them up so much that I couldn't actually end up buying anything else.
Yeah, I do wonder if they might work better in a full-on skirmish one-off game, where rather than hindering yourself to saying, right, you've got to make a gang that's 1,000 credits, you're starting off at a higher points level. So this is a one-off game. Let's meet up next Tuesday and we'll have a game. You make your gang, I'll make my gang. We've got 1,500 credits, like in the original boxed
like
game.
the one-off one.
Or you've got 1,750. You've got 2,000 points to create a gang, just for that one-off game.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's what the 150 creds thing is for those one-off games.
Yeah.
And you can, you've just got that little bit more.
And that way you've got 500 points or 500 credits extra that you can spend on that, tooling the guys up.
Yeah.
To make your gang more interesting.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's where this particular gang needs to go, unless they prove themselves in a campaign setting.
I think the thing is with the way campaigns work is you have to really start low to then benefit from the working its way up, because I know that it's the same as like I was talking about with like football games and like PC games and stuff. You kind of try and start low, because if you're already starting in the middle or slightly high, it takes all the fun out of the progression. So it's a difficult balance. It's like, do you start right at the bottom, which makes it a bit uninteresting to start with, but you've got a potential to shoot up, or do you start kind of middly, like we were discussing, where you start quite middly and you've got some base, like we allow other people to have skills at the same time for that 6 games. They're never going to go anywhere because they've already hit a certain tier. There. So it's a balance, I guess. It's whether do you want to start really low but there's a potential for everyone to shoot up pretty quick, or actually start with something decent and then just have to hang on even longer to leap. Are there any other weapons that caught anyone's eye?
Oh, I like the toxin pistol.
Oh yeah, the needle pistol.
Needle pistol. That was pretty good.
I know I've caught my eye was the toxin injector claw, which is something that I've picked for our list.
How does that work? Is that similar to the...
It's toxin, yeah, it's the same, but I just thought, well, I'll talk about it when we talk about the games. Should we go into the games?
Yeah, then? I think so. I think we're ready for that.
Yeah. I won't bother stopping the segment. We can just jump straight into it. Who wants to go first with their list?
I can go first.
Yeah.
Alright, let's grab it.
The one you used today?
Yeah.
This is where we'll find that once we've looked through Aaron's list, that is an illegal
loads of
list.
free weapons and upgrades.
Everyone listen, if you found the point where Aaron's done something illegal, please message us on Facebook.
How many skills?
Yeah.
No, so this is my 1,000 point credit Genestealer Cult gang. So I've got my Cult Adept. He's just your... Yeah, I don't think they're not that tough. I mean, toughness 3 and 2 wounds. I mean, they're still pretty weak, but the points came in at 265. Still pretty expensive. I didn't add... I kind of did add some extra little bits to him. I mean, he's got a bone sword and needle pistol and the extra arm. The extra arm bumped it up a little bit, an extra 50 points. And he's got Zealot. I didn't see that.
But Zealot but you used Hypnosis anyway.
I used Hypnosis, yeah.
I think you probably had the right choice when you did Hypnosis.
Because you can't choose from the skills tree, you got to choose the adept abilities.
Yeah.
So that was he's got Hypnosis. So
that's pretty sweet.
Once per turn he can hypnotise someone that's taking a shooting attack. It doesn't have to be at him, it could be at one of the other gang members. I don't know, you said about targeting the floor, so I don't know if it's a targeting attack that attacks the...
You have to be directed at the person.
At the ganger, or can it be just any sort of shooting attack?
Because Michael suggested that if you shot at the floor...
Yeah, then you're technically right. Aaron's right. Woo! Well done, Aaron. Yeah, so it says once per round, when an enemy fighter within 9 inches of the adept makes a ranged or close combat attack, so it doesn't say who it has to be attacking or whatever, the adept can use this ability. So you basically just have to say that you're going to use that ability before the person rolls their hit dice.
But that Hypnosis won't work on it. So if someone's having a long range shot, it won't do anything. You have to be within the 9 inches of that.
Yeah. Most of the time I was out but there was a few times where
Well, I think you got it off 3 times in the
It's
game.
pretty good. So it's against your willpower.
Yeah, Goliaths aren't particularly good at willpower.
Yeah, so essentially the player has to fail a willpower check, and that person can't perform its action. Well, can't shoot.
Yeah, so you waste your action points, don't you?
So get the person to aim and then fire.
Yeah, which I might have done.
Come and shoot me, it's fine.
I think I went a little bit overboard with having a bone sword and a needle pistol. Maybe I could have just gone in with some sort of power sword, a bone sword.
Or even one or the other,
Yeah,
really, just to drop the points a bit.
Yeah, just to drop the points.
As long as you've still got a second close combat weapon to get an extra attack, it doesn't matter what the secondary one is so much.
So,
but at the same time, though, the needle pistol's
really
only
cool.
one attack. So if you'd have charged in, then the needle pistol only really does one of those damage.
Yeah.
So if you make that the good thing and the other thing sucky, then the other 3 or 4 attacks, however many attacks you have, would suck.
Yeah.
So it might be, but then the pistol can. So I think that if I had the points, I'd probably go with a commander with having at least one good pistol, one good close combat weapon, then anything else after that can just be filler essentially.
yeah. He didn't need the respirator. I added the respirator. I had a couple of points to spend, and then we have a neophyte with the cult icon, so he can activate an extra 2 guys with him. So he was just basically walking around activating 2 guys at a time just to protect him. And then we've got, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 guys with a mixture of shotguns and auto guns. They were just my basic kind of gangers, just stand and shoot. And then we've got another neophyte. He's a specialist with a power pick, and that's a pretty cool weapon. +1 strength, so it's strength 4, minus AP 3 and 1 damage. I mean, he managed to kill, was it champion in hand-to-hand combat?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And then we've got, I think that's, and then my mining laser guy. He was a bit expensive, 220 point for a 1-winged model. And yeah, he's got a mining laser which can shoot, as Michael was saying, 24 inches, but he's got -1 on the long distance. But I gave him that extra arm so he can aim and fire without any penalties, or he can move and fire because the mining laser's unwieldy. But that's
completely annihilated.
Oh yeah,
when it hits, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the 3 damage. With the -3 AP, most models aren't going to have any sort of save against that.
No.
Or it's going to be a 6-up if you're lucky.
And it's generally 2
and it's doing 3 damage.
Yeah.
So currently I don't think there's really any models that have got 3
I
wounds.
think it's the Orlok.
He's got 3.
One's got 3 wounds, so
Yeah,
potentially you could one-shot him and get him down to an injury roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And anybody else, you're instantly making multiple dice rolls for injuring them.
Yeah, it's pretty beefy.
Yeah. The other thing I like about the mining laser, while we're talking about that, is the short range isn't half the maximum range.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
18
So
inches.
it's 18 inches for the short range. So you don't get your -1 modifier to hit up to 18
Too far.
inches. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, and that's it. And yeah, that's my guys.
Cool.
So there's 8 of them. Pretty standard. I tried to make the list a little bit Genestealer-y kind of type, but I don't think the rules. It's still a White Dwarf codex, so I don't think the rules have kind of done it justice yet until they get their official release. I don't know if there'll ever be an official release for these guys.
I think that's as official as it's going to get. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it will get.
I don't think enough of the flavour came out.
I think it's just hard. Like I said, it's hard at 1,000 credits to try and get that flavour in there. It'd be nice. It'd be nice if there was a Genestealer option that you could have a maximum of 1 Genestealer in the army. Okay, you could sub that in as an aberrant,
Yeah.
And do that because they've got no close combat, no ranged weapons.
Yeah.
If you desperately wanted the look of a Genestealer in your army. But it's just what you can fit in at 1,000 credits.
Yeah.
Like with mine, I might as well move on to mine.
Yeah, go for it.
Aaron's done. So
before just one thing before I forget. Like me and Erin had noticed as well, Cult Adepts don't come with the hazard suit. So if you're playing games and you're really tight on points, or it's got to be a really official point total, just be careful, because in the White Dwarf currently, the Cult Adept does not have a hazard suit. So if you're doing that, if you're wanting them, just make sure you're either paying your 10 credits or you're not using that rule. So just be careful, because for some reason it's not in there and all the others have it, so just don't get caught out.
Yep.
Sorry.
Right, so my list is a little bit bland, but I was trying to get as many guys in the list as possible. I managed to get 11 models, which I think is about the maximum you're going to get. So I've got an Adept. This was planned to be using the Magus model. So a lot of the equipment's been chosen to suit the models rather than perhaps what's optimal. So I've given him the Staff of Office, so that's his kind of close combat weapon. He got an auto pistol and the hazard suit, and I gave him Hypnosis. At the time, the only reason I chose it was just because I wanted him to be a psyker. I wanted him to do something psychic and mess with people's minds, and I didn't really think that it was that great. But having been on the receiving end of it, with a gang that's got a particularly bad willpower, oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I included that. So that was pretty cool. I had 2 acolytes. Both of them have got auto pistols, but one of them's got a power maul just to give extra strength bonuses, because they're already strength 4 anyway. So plus 2 strength makes them strength 6, which is pretty considerable in combat. When the majority of gangs are toughness 3, you're going to be wounded on 2s, so that's nice. I gave him Berserker, which gives him an extra attack when he charges.
Okay.
So I think he's already got 2 attacks to start. He's got an extra combat weapon, so 2 attacks for normal, 1 for charging, 1 for the extra weapon, and then 1 for an extra 1 for charging. So that's 5 attacks at strength 6. That's pretty tasty. The other acolyte has got an auto pistol but a knife this time, and I gave him Backstab. So that's what I was trying to say to Aaron earlier. So he gets plus 2 strength if he attacks outside of the target's field of view. So that puts him up to strength 6 as well. So he doesn't quite get as many attacks as the other guy, he gets 1 less, but he still gets strength 6, so you can hopefully easily injure people. And then I've got a whole host of neophytes. So the first one's got a grenade launcher and an auto pistol. So a grenade launcher just to get some blasts out there and give you the option of the frag or the crack, depending on what target you're after. And then the rest of the guys are all auto gun, auto pistol. So like I said, it's a little bit bland, but using the models that are in the range, if someone's got the Deathwatch Overkill set, a lot of those neophytes have just got auto guns. So you can use up them models that you might just have sat on the shelf. Cool. Because they're not very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, for mine, I've kind of done slightly similar, where I've thought, for a change, I'm not going to give them a pistol and a blah blah blah, and they're just going to have one weapon, because I wanted to go for number. So my Cult Adepts, I made sure I bought the hazard suit, given them a respirator, because I know that gas and toxin, they can be pretty hardcore, and 15 points just to protect your model against it, well, make it a lot harder, is what I think is worth it. I've given them the Toxin Injector Claw. I just thought I'll give it a go, and also if I can get a good amount of attacks, each of those have the potential of rolling the 2d6, and then as long as you've got 1 over, like we were doing today with the Toxin, it's pretty hardcore rules, so that if you roll 2d6 and then you roll more than that 1, all you have to do is roll plus 1 more than the other guy, that's that model out. So I just thought
that's pretty good.
With a needle pistol, you've only really got 1 shot, whereas if you have 3 attacks with the claw, then you've got 3 times the chance of doing that. I've given them a chainsword. and so that they can have a little bit of parry action going on. And I just made it that they're just close combat, so I didn't bother with the extra arm, and I didn't bother with a pistol or a gun. I just want them to get up close. And I gave them the familiar, one just for conversion opportunities, so I can muck about with that, and two, if they've only got close combat stuff, then the familiars can get shot first, unless people want to keep passing call checks, because they also don't count for the amount of people that you can move in one go. So he or she can drag along 2 people and those 2 familiars, and
2?
Leader can move 2.
I think you can have 2, can't you? But you can only have.
But
you can only
the
buy
familiars
one
don't.
Yeah, I think as you progress in the campaign,
yeah, you can buy an extra.
Fair enough.
Skill, yeah.
I mean, it's just an extra meat shield for them, especially as I'm so close combat orientated anyway.
Yeah, so you can take this ability up to twice.
Okay.
So for each time you take that ability, you get
one familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
And then next I've got a hybrid acolyte. I've given them Respirator 2, and I've given them the cult icon like Erin did, to bring an extra person, and I've given them a hand flamer.
Templates.
Yeah, so just getting forward and then using other people as meat shields, and then essentially just using the hand flamer. But I've not given them anything else, just for a change, because normally I'm chucking stuff, but at the end I only used 945 points, because I know that the idea from the developers was that it's better to have some points, because then I can chuck them in for something else. So I will definitely increase that acolyte's stuff, but for the first game I just thought bring some people along, meat shield them, and then use the flamer, and then just do what you need to
survive, earn a little bit of cash, and then you've already got a little bit in reserve.
Yeah, and just chuck a bit when I need to.
Yep.
The only thing I needed to check was whether you can, I don't think you can, but whether you could add extra arm, because it's a war gear option, whether you can add extra arm after the point of that person existing. Because with weapons you can buy any weapon, but extra arm, isn't that essentially they either come with it or they're not got it at all? You can't add it in the campaign.
It's in the war gear section.
I would say it's war gear, so I would say it can mutate, and you can get it.
You could mutate. Okay, cool. That's what I just wanted, because it doesn't really specify either way, but...
Because I think when you go to the trading post, it's been too long since I've actually played, I think when you go to the trading post, you can either choose to buy stuff from your gang allowance, or whatever stuff you're allowed to have when you set the gang up, or you can buy stuff from the trading post itself.
Right.
So, and then at the trading post, in theory, you've got a wider spread of stuff that you can have, or you've got access to rare stuff. Mm-hmm. So I would say, war gear. You can have free range. Just whoop, there goes an extra arm. There goes an extra arm.
Maybe it was kind of growing.
Yeah.
It hadn't sprouted
mini
into
claw.
Fully functional third arm.
Yeah, it's like Deadpool when he cuts his hand off, and he's got a little tiny hand, and then he grows to full size.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've got...
my Weber feels so big. Look how big my Weber is in that hand.
Is that what you call it?
Well,
Your Weber.
Well, there's people that can't see. Michael's got his Weber out.
Yeah. You just got to watch out, because if it catches you, you're stuck.
Yeah.
Then I've got an Aberrant, and I've given them a power hammer, just because I like power hammers. I might change that, and I might add more neophytes. I might go for I might have one gang where it's just a lot of people, and just see how that goes, because all my other ones have been tooling them out better but having less. But this one I might just give them tons and tons and tons of people and see where I go. So for neophytes I've got one special, and that's a grenade launcher like Michael's. I've then got 3 neophytes with auto guns, and then 2 neophytes with shotguns. But I also have 65 credits left, so I've got the ability to add another neophyte with an auto gun if I want to. Oh no, actually no, I don't, because neophyte's 45 and on an auto gun, so that's 70 total.
Just give your guy an extra arm.
Yeah, and it gives me a bit of time to muck about, but even if I take the Aberrant out, then I've got more neophytes as well. So I might go with number for this, as it's like a cult of people just all coming out, and just maybe just weight of rapid fire auto guns, just see what that can do, because I've never tried an army which is just tons of auto guns. I suppose that would be perfect for Warlocks, because that's essentially what they are. For the skill trees, I didn't find cunning to be amazing. Escape artists will probably be helpful if they get captured, because on a 2 or more they escape, so it's very situational, exactly. But it would be really helpful on that time where you did get captured. Evade's okay if you're not in cover, but then you just spend your time deliberately not being in cover, so your evade skill would work, because it doesn't stack with you being in cover. It only works if you're out of cover.
I was looking at that and I don't understand why it didn't stack.
Infiltrate's cool, but if infiltrate will only really work if you've got the weapons to make it count, because you're essentially on your own, because all your other ones are right at the back. I mean, it would have really helped for the scenario today, especially if I know a lot of people are saying that they'd like to get a model that infiltrates and then has a that mega demo charge, which would be horrible, but would essentially finish that mission in one go if it got to work how someone would want. It's also handy, I suppose, if you gave it to someone who had a decent long-range weapon, because you could put them up high. But it depends on if the weapons... Yeah, I mean, it's just a skill that it does make that person very exposed, but can also be incredibly helpful for certain missions. If there's somewhere that they've got to get to before everyone else, and they can just hold up the place until everyone else gets there. It's quite a cool skill. I think an Overwatch would be the other one. Lilo I'm not too fussed with, which is that it can't be shot when prone, because I don't find that happens too much, that I get shot while I'm lying on the ground.
You kind of tend to ignore people that are on the ground.
If you've got someone else charging at you, then you're more aiming at them. So I would probably, out of the cunning ones, pick Infiltrate or Overwatch. And then Ferocity, there's plenty, but again, they're only really if nerves are still, again, cool check, you're not pinned would be good for a ranged model or someone who's close combat. Then there's Berserker, which is another attack, which I know you've done on yours. There's Fearsome, so it's a bit like Hypnotise, where you've got to pass a willpower check before charging. So if you had Hypnotise and Fearsome, you'd have to pass a test to shoot or attack them in hand-to-hand combat, so they're pretty frightening.
I think they're pretty thematic. I think that works pretty well.
And that Unstoppable one, I still don't really fully understand. One day someone will explain it to me and be like, look,
I think you just take
sit
one
here and
less
watch it.
flesh wounds. I think that's what it is.
Yeah? I don't know. One day I'll work it out. I think it's that extra bit. It's the first paragraph's fine, and then it's like, well, but if blah blah, and too much.
I hate too much. Wordy.
Too
stuff.
wordy.
Yeah.
Too complicated for me. So that's it for the gangs. What was the other skill for that? I know Hypnotise was popular. I've obviously picked the Familiar. What were the other ones that we've got?
So the other adaptability. So you can have a Familiar, which is basically gets you an extra model for free, and they can do stuff and also protect your leader. Hypnosis, which we discussed. You can have Unbreakable Will. So the Adept channels some measure of the Patriarch's control over nearby cult members. Whenever a nerve or willpower test is made for another fighter in the gang who is within 9 inches of the Adept, use the Adept's characteristic value instead. So the Adept's willpower is on a 5+, which is only 1 better than the Neophytes. Okay, it's 2 better than what the Acolytes are. So if you've got your character models clustered together, then that could be a benefit. It's okay.
But
then there are things that you add on as you gain skills and stuff. Right, well, actually, rather than rolling on the skill table, I'll choose one of these. So it's fair enough. And then Zealot. So it's like Hatred as such. So when another fighter from the same gang who is within 9 inches of the Adept makes a close combat attack, you can re-roll any dice that roll a natural 1.
Okay, so it's like the old.
So there's not much so far that gives you re-rolls in Necromunda, because it always seems like quite harsh. You're not rolling a huge number of dice like you do in 40k, where you get a bucket of dice and then your averages kind of stack up and you go, it works out okay. With Necromunda, it feels so harsh sometimes just to roll a very limited number of dice, and all those 3 or those 2 dice don't do what you want. You think, if only I could re-roll.
Especially your dice.
Oh, they were stone cold.
Yeah. It's when we were doing the battle report, recording the battle report. I was like, I really wish we were recording Michael's dice rolling because it's amazing.
I think for future battle reports, we'll do those kind of cool little dice moments, and instead of doing like an end of turn kind of summary, we'll make it a little bit more fun. This was our first one, so
but the other thing we was trying to do, we had a time constraint in that we wanted to try and record this show on the same day. So there's that. I think other times, if we're doing a battle report and we're going to try and do a quality video of the game, then perhaps we need to be taking the time just to do the video, rather than trying to squeeze too much in. But we'll see.
Cool.
I don't know if you two want to have a game after.
Yeah, we'll see how we get on with the. By the time we finish waffling.
Yeah, because I think it's about 5 o'clock now.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, 5:10. So. So that's it for the roster. So it's time for games played, which will be Aaron and Michael. So I will stop here and we can go back into it in a second. Okay, welcome back to Games Played. So I'm going to leave it for Michael, who was the man who concocted the scenario today, who will be able to give us some better information.
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, I've created a scenario specially to use, not so much showcase, but to actually make use out of the scenery piece that I made, the crane, the mega crane, the big lifter.
It looks awesome, and it moves.
Yeah, it does. It's excellent. Up, down, left, right. So I created a scenario where the crane is set up, the rest of the terrain is set up on the table. It's supposed to represent a loading dock, and there's loads of containers that need to be shifted onto a shuttle to be taken off world. That's the premise of it. The crane is controlled by 3 servitors that are connected up to a control panel, and of all the containers, one of them is a high priority load that is important to both gangs. It's important for the defending gang to make sure that it doesn't get stolen and make sure it gets off world, and it's important for the attacking gang because they don't want it to leave, and at the end of the game they want to be able to loot it and get some goodness from it.
All I was thinking at that time was that I want on my pants high priority loads.
Nice.
I've already got a pair that say may contain nuts. Sorry.
Thank you for that input. That's helpful.
This is why I didn't pass my GCSE English the first time round.
May contain nuts. So we set up the table before Aaron turned up. It's a work in progress, the scenario, but basically for a one-off game as a skirmish, the victory conditions were if the defender can get the high priority container off the table and the control panel doesn't get damaged or doesn't get destroyed, so the loading bay is still fully functional, then they score a major victory. If they manage to get the container off, but the control panel gets destroyed at some point during the game, then they only get a minor victory. From the attacker's perspective, they want to keep, at the end of the game, if they can keep the high priority target on the table, so it doesn't go off to the shuttle bay, and they can destroy the control panel, they get a major victory. If they only manage to destroy the control panel, then they get a minor victory. So there's a combination there that will eventually turn into a draw. And we rolled off to see who would be the infiltrating attackers and who will be the security detail. I got the defending role, which worked out quite well because having dreamed up the rules, it was easy for me to control the crane rather than explain.
Genestealer Cults are probably the ones trying to stealth in and ruin stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then it worked out that the Genestealer Cult were coming in trying to steal the goodness or sabotage stuff. So that kind of worked out nicely. Aaron chose to deploy on one of the table edges off to the side. So his objectives were either to do my guys in and get them off the board, and try and hold on to the special container, or get to the control panel and destroy that. He had the ideal tool for it, his mining laser, and he managed to get that deployed in a position where it could shoot, albeit at long range, and the control panel was behind some cover, which made it very difficult. Made it very difficult for him to actually shoot, which was a shame because that would have been the perfect tool for the job.
I think the other cool thing you had though was the 3 servitors that each allowed one action to happen, and you could have just killed the servitors as well.
Yeah.
So there were 2 different ways to stop that crane from doing what
I suppose I should explain that. So that the crane has got different manoeuvres it can do, going up, down, left and right, and connecting or unhitching from a load. Each of the servitors allows you to do some of those actions. So if all 3 were alive and within 1 inch of the control panel, they can do 4 actions, which basically allows you to pick up a container and move it to the shuttle bay. It doesn't allow you to lower it and drop it, but at least in 1 turn you can get the container there ready for next turn to deliver the payload. If you lose a servitor, then you're only able to do 3 actions, which means it takes you longer to perform those movements of the containers. If you've only got 1 guy left, you can only perform 2 of the actions, which means it's even slower. So I was lucky enough that when Aaron deployed, he deployed quite tight to his table edge. And he didn't play very aggressively for the first turn.
Yeah.
So
I think it was because I've played with Goliaths and Space Marines, and that toughness 4, I'm like, I could take a bit of a beating. But seeing the Genestealer Cult have only got a toughness 3, I was reluctant to push them forward. I thought they would just get mowed down. So I could have played a little bit more aggressively.
You've got Space Marine fear, haven't you? The same as me. We've played Space Marines for so long. Anything lower than toughness 4 freaks us out.
Yeah, so I think that's what it is. And
I use Custodes. I'm even worse.
So just reluctant to push them forward just to get in. But the way the game played out, I mean, they held their own. They were able to get into combat, even win some as well. So
it worked out quite nicely. My leader came across because the mining laser had to go. So I very quickly got, within the 2 turns, I'd got 1 container off the table, and my next one was going to be the high priority one. So my leader came across to try and deal with this mining laser, but because being Goliaths, they've only got a movement of 4, and the charge range is your movement plus a random D3. And I was hiding behind some cover, because you want to have some cover when you've got a mining laser shooting at you. It meant that it was unrealistic that I could make a charge on turn 2, so I then had to move to a slightly less obscured position, but closer. And then promptly Aaron fired the mining laser, hit me in the face, and just melted. So my 2 wound leader just went straight out.
Yeah,
you rolled that fancy skull and took him off the board 1 shot. So that was pretty cool for you. Not so good for me. But while all that was going on, I'm merrily shifting containers off the table. So I was sacrificing models to allow the crane to continue moving, which in the end kind of worked out okay for me.
Yeah, definitely.
I had 3 opportunities during the game of either shooting or attacking your leader, who promptly hypnotised me. And it was just so annoying because I kept forgetting that he had that ability. The first time I thought, that's cool. Oh, this is unlikely to happen. Then I looked at the willpower stat for the Goliath, and it was like 9. Oh my goodness! And how cold my dice were. There was I could have had 6 dice and still wouldn't have got a 9.
Yeah, there was a lot of 1s and 2s going on.
A lot of the combat, I managed to get into some combats, made some charges. With my high strength, I was expecting to do well, and multiple attacks for extra combat weapons.
But it's just
rolled 3 dice to attack, and then only needing fours to hit, and I'd roll a couple of 1s and a 2.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for that. and then the reaction attacks coming back doing a flesh wound or something.
It was impressive. Even when Aaron lost one of his guys, he managed to use that card that allowed you to sucker punch him on the way down. You uppercutted him and he lost another wound. You kill me, I'll punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Or kick him in the ghoulies or something.
But I started to really push towards the end, but
it was too late.
Too late, yeah.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing was you could have done with a high strength combat weapon to charge into that control panel, or to have been plinking away at it earlier.
It was the terrain, and then you had your guys, and then you had this other objectives. It was too many things to consider.
Yeah.
And the only few shots I got against the control panel, the strength, it wasn't high enough, so I couldn't deal anything. And
well, it was a trial mission anyway, just to try and suck it and see.
It was fun.
So we've already decided that we're going to nudge down the toughness of the control panel and also the services, just to try and make it a bit more possible for stuff to get done, even with relatively small arms.
Yeah.
It's a mission that I think when both of you had made the armies before the mission it came around, if like a couple of your guys, like your leader had a plasma pistol and another guy had something else hefty, you could have taken quite a lot of chunk out of that.
Yeah.
But it honestly depended on the weapons you had on that thing, because the heavy flamer and any template weapons and bits and pieces could have been pretty hefty, because those servitors were right around that, and if it was a demolition charge, you could have took that in one go.
Turn one, off you go.
But you can only get infiltrate on one of the. It's not on the adept; it's the acolytes. So
But at the same time, also, you didn't start as a defender with all your models on the table as well.
No,
so
I had some reinforcements, one of which never turned up.
Yeah, never. Not in the whole game didn't turn up, which is quite impressive. But then so it gave the attacker a bit more chance to overwhelm the guys to then get to the next stage. But it's complicated, and I think it is just based on sometimes what weapons that you have.
And if you're going for combat against that control panel, that power pick that you had, that would have been good, because that would have been +2 strength or +1 strength. +1 strength. So that helps.
Yeah.
You know,
and it also would have been, like we said, if it wasn't moving, then essentially it was just one's miss, but everything else hit. So
we decided that if you was going to attack it in close combat, this control panel, then you'd still roll your attack dice, but rather than going by your weapon skill, you would hit on anything but a 1, and that's just to represent you trying to find that weak spot inside it, and just to damage a key part or something.
And it could still be that while you were swinging, you tripped over and you just had that potential to miss, which Michael would like to roll a lot. But today it was anyway. There was lots of 1s getting thrown out.
I did try and toxin it, so you might need to put that in the rules. It can't be affected by.
I don't know, if you squirt some liquid inside the computer, it's not going to do it much good, is it?
No. And it's probably quite acidic, that stuff.
A bit corrosive.
Yeah.
Maybe,
I reckon if I fired acid into my laptop, it'd probably finish it pretty quick.
But overall, it was a good game.
Yeah, it's fun.
And it's just nice to do something other than what's in the book. I know we're not at the stage where we're bored of the missions, because we just haven't played enough to get bored. But there's going to be some gaming groups out there that are playing Necromunda week in, week out. They may be doing 2 or 3 games in a day or something like that. It's not going to take you long before the missions start to get a little bit stale.
And also, you just I've got an awesome crane, how can I add it as part, not just terrain, but part of the mission? And that's what made that awesome too. And I think that's another thing, is that I've got something really cool. Okay, so I'm going to write a scenario about it, and that's why you're the dungeon master. And you write the scenarios, and I just watch it.
Which leads on to a future competition that we'll be announcing probably in a couple of shows' time, because we want to resolve the current competition we've got going first.
Versatile terrain,
but essentially, we're going to run a competition where listeners can submit a scenario they've created based on a piece of terrain or scenery that they've made or bought. So, and then we'll be reviewing those. So get your thinking caps on, and then come up with some idea. It could be a mission that you've been playing for the last 10 years because you've been playing Necromunda forever. So it could be something you've already done, or it could be something new and fresh.
Cool. And thank you to Promethean Forge, one for making the competition possible, which we'll discuss in the future, but also all the MDF that was on there today on the board that you'll see in the battle report was from Promethean Forge when they sent it to us.
Yep.
And I'm just finishing that, like I've discussed earlier, once I've got the airbrush and everything set up again. So thank you for Promethean Forge as well for giving us half of the terrain for that game.
Yeah, sweet.
And thank you for supporting us in the competition. And thank you two for having the game today.
Yeah.
Give us something to talk about.
Going back to this game, what would you do differently list-wise?
List-wise for me, I don't think I'd need to do anything different. I think the defender can have just a regular game because they don't need anything specific. But maybe from the attacker's perspective, the way that the control panel was relatively high tough, it wasn't ridiculous, but it was relatively high. So your strength 3 guns are going to really struggle to do anything at range, which then relies on at least maybe a strength 5 weapon to stand a chance.
I was thinking that maybe the attacking person gets to have 1 free demolition charge, which is specifically set up to sabotage that thing, but it can't be on anyone that it can infiltrate. So, and it could be.
So you've still got to get them there and try that Hail Mary throw.
Yeah, so they've essentially got a weapon deliberately set. Yeah. So even if your army has nothing to be able to destroy it, that they're all auto guns or all whatever, they still have 1 chance at least to blow that up, and it's specific to destroying.
Maybe it could be like secretly written down what guy carries.
Or you could have what strength for crack grenades? They're strength 6.
Yeah.
So you could potentially say that every model can have crack grenades, but they can only have 1.
Yeah.
So that way, that kind of prevents people just going with gay abandon, just throwing crack grenades at gangers. Because obviously it's awesome to throw a grenade at a ganger and just blow him up. But it means you're then reducing your chances or opportunities of actually destroying that thing.
Or maybe the demo charge is one that's designed specifically for the thing but can't be thrown. So you've got it on one guy, but you've got to get into close combat, and you know that will probably pretty much blow that thing up entirely, and that dude as well, essentially, because it's got to be in hand-to-hand. It's got to be in hand-to-hand combat. But at least you know that whoever plays you will have at least 1 model that could definitely blow it up, and so you've got that mission to get that dude.
Yeah, I suppose just creating options for what the different houses might have, because if you playing against someone that's got lots of plasma, then in theory they've got the tools to do it, so they don't need that.
And the Cawdors have the bomb rats in theory when they start getting their pets.
So maybe
bomb
just
rats would be sweet.
A couple of the gangs, you might just have to review your opponent's list and just say, you do realise you haven't got anything that can do this, let's give you that.
Yeah.
And even if you want to balance it, then saying, well, the defenders can have a piece of war gear or something up to a value of something, just to if people are stressing about the points being equal. Not that the scenario isn't particularly balanced in that respect, so maybe it doesn't matter.
No.
But either way, it was good fun.
Yeah, it was wicked, and seeing the crane move whilst you were doing the actions was sweet as well.
I didn't have to make silly crane noises because it made them on its own.
Awesome. So we're done for the games played. So it's lastly our thank yous, our salute discussion, what we've seen on the page that looks cool. So we will get back into that in 1 second. But that was the end of games played. Okay, welcome back to the last segment, which is the thank yous, the close, and what we've seen on Facebook, which on our group that we've thought are really cool. So we'll start off with the pre-salute discussion. So for anyone who's in the USA or anywhere else that doesn't know really what Salute is, it's like a kind of gaming convention where there's lots of stalls and potential people who sell.
It's more a trade exhibition, isn't it, I guess? With a little bit of convention on the side. Yeah,
and it's not GW focused because there's loads of historical stuff, loads of different games, lots of different companies starting out their own game systems. there's just lots and lots of random stuff, but it's also just a reason to go out and see loads of people you haven't seen for ages, and get drunk as well for me. To go to the pub, and I think it's like seeing some of the old Overlords people again. And there's loads of different podcast people that come down as well. So there's
we're those podcast people.
Well, we are now. But I know that when I first started, it was when the Overlords had decided to, and they booked a room at the Fox, a table at the Fox, and then some of the Overlords have now become Sons of Heresy. There's Geno 52 podcast I know go down there, Adept of Terror podcast I know will be down there, but there's us now.
Was it Independent Characters? They went down there.
Yeah, I remember.
Down from the States. Yeah.
So it's really cool just to catch up with everyone and just see how everyone's getting on. I know that there'll be, and because it's so random, and because of Necromunda, I think I'm looking forward to this salute just to. Normally it used to be that I'd go around and just see the tables that interested me, but now with the potential of so many different conversions and bits and pieces, I'm just going to spend time on, apart from the historical like 15mm models, which aren't going to have anything to do with what I do, but actually spending time even on just random companies, because there's that one model there that will be perfect for something else. So I think I'm actually going to spend, because normally I'd go around after an hour or so, get bored, and then I'd be in the pub. But this time,
you're drunk.
Yeah. Oh, I'm always drunk by the end of it.
I'm always there till like closing time.
Yeah, and I know you go. I'll go on, Tom. I'm going back. And I'm all right, mate. Drinking my Guinness and.
So I do like the quick look around, see what I like, and kind of make note, and then I do the in-depth look around. And then I go in real deep.
And then he gets his wallet out.
Yeah. And then the wallet comes out.
Goes in deep.
But I usually hit the bargain bins. I forgot what company has them out.
But they didn't last year, did they? No.
Yeah, they didn't have it last year.
That was Troll Trader, wasn't it?
It was Troll Trader.
And they had the huge bin, and it's awesome just pulling through. Yeah. But last year, I don't think they definitely didn't have it last year.
That's why last year I didn't really enjoy it as much as I've done previously.
Because it's all those random places. That's where I'd pick those random models out, and they'd just be perfect.
Yeah.
I do remember though last year there being in each of the especially Wayland Games and the bigger ones, there were a lot of people watching rather than selling. They were watching people while they were picking up. So I think a lot of people were starting to steal because they've got bags. And something like the bargain bin thing where it's so packed with people.
What?
Yeah, it's easy just to drop something down and it goes in your bag, and I think it's just very difficult to police it. It's not, but at the same time they probably lose a quarter of their stuff they're not getting money for. It's like the old pick and mixes. It was just so many people were just taking little bits. It just wasn't cost effective. That might not be the reason, but I know that I noticed a lot more. And when I went to certain places, a lot of their stuff was behind a counter. And when I was asking about getting paintbrushes, they were saying that they put stuff behind because people were taking stuff, and it was their way of securing their stuff, like Greggs do now with their food and stuff. I used to work at
Is that a sausage roll in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see it?
Well, I mean, Ponce. I remember when I used to work at Pupil Referral Unit, and the kids used to rush the Greggs essentially just run in and steal a ton of stuff. But and then that's why they started putting stuff behind counters, because of kids just coming in and stealing all the stuff. And so essentially stealing does happen, and it does ruin everyone else's enjoyment. But hopefully if they do have that again, that would be awesome. But I've got a feeling they might not have it again this year either. Fingers crossed though.
Well, I'm looking forward to it this year. As continuing the theme from after Christmas, I'm still bleeding skin and I'm getting a bit fed up with it now. But nonetheless, I'm going. I've got my tickets, so I'm going to go there. Not so much intent on buying.
Got your ticket.
Erin, you're so organised. So I'm going to go there, not with the intention of buying, but I want to get loads of business cards and ideas. I want to be looking at stuff, picking things up and deciding what I want to buy, and then the idea is then at a later date I can use them business cards or whatever the names of the companies are. I'll Google them, find them, and then I'll order online as and when I can, as and when I've got the cash. Because I want to buy individual models, which are either going to be for Necromunda or for this is not a test. I want to try and get some specific models for that. So proper post-apocalyptic humans rather than space age sci-fi sort of models. And also I want to get some terrain as well, because I've got boxes of terrain which is suitable for fantasy and suitable for 40k or Necromunda, but I want to try and get some real world post-apocalyptic
destroyed buildings.
So sort of houses and stuff like that, street furniture, whether it be rubbish bins and fences and things like that.
Fallout 4 style.
Yeah,
it's more human-y, just stuff that's around now but destroyed by atomic.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of the stuff that's available is kind of Americanised, so you'd have like dumpsters or like big sort of garbage things, but there are companies that do like British telephone boxes and sort of normal wheelie bins, which is what we have for our rubbish.
Well,
that's all that's left.
London telephone boxes look like they're post-apocalyptic these days because they're all smashed up and destroyed, and they've been weed all over, and they're essentially toilets.
So that's kind of what I'll be doing. I'll just be looking out for ideas and companies to then buy from online later. That's my mission.
The other thing that I don't think that they will have, but I was hoping they would, is now I'm going to get my man cave. I've been looking at certain companies who make MDF, because either I was going to go to IKEA and get a desk that had set up shelves and bits and pieces that I thought would work, or I was going to go via the MDF route and just get a plain table and then just pick the
rack sort of thing.
But there are places that do systems, so you have the paint racks, but they also slot perfectly onto little shelving bits, and just sorting out my own thing and having it exactly how I want it. I might go and see if there's something like that there. I'm not 100% there is. Normally it's just game systems and stuff, but I'll see what they have and see if there's any MDF companies there, and see if they do make their own sort of hobby stations where I can get like a setup exactly how I want it, drawers where I want them and bits and pieces.
I'll be surprised if there isn't something there. It's one of them things that if you're not looking for it, you wouldn't notice it.
Yeah.
So in previous years when you haven't been looking for that sort of thing, it may well have been there, but your eyes didn't see it because you're too busy focused on looking at miniatures rather than looking at the bigger things that are in the background.
Yeah, it's like when
so
you
it could be this time round, now you're conscious of that you want to buy it, that you'll then start seeing them.
It's the same as when you buy a new car and then you see them everywhere because you weren't looking beforehand.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, so again, in regards to Salute, if you are there and you do see us and recognise us, please feel free to come say hello. And like I say, if you can show us where your 5-star review is, I will give you a hug. Michael will give you a kiss.
No, Michael will be referring you to Tom.
and Aaron will give you a special cuddle. So just show us where your 5-star review is on iTunes.
Say show us your special place.
No. Well, that could work too. There's bathrooms there.
Not in public.
But yeah, no, it'd be nice to see people. Obviously, if you know us anyway, we're going to say hello to you regardless.
Or run the other direction.
Yeah, but please feel free to come say hello. I've become one of the podcast t-shirt wankers. I've got a t-shirt that has our name of our podcast. So if you are seeing my face and still not sure whether I'm the bald guy with glasses that looks like every other bald guy with a beard and glasses, at least my t-shirt will give it away. And I know someone's already asked, there will be some future podcast merchandise that's available through Redbubble. I've set up a page and I will be putting that link out in the future after Salute. So if you did and were crazy enough to want to buy that stuff, but you're welcome to do so. And also those bits will make a small donation and it will all go to the podcast. So when we do move into our various different places and we do want to start recording, it'll help buy a microphone for someone who hasn't got that stuff and bits and pieces. So it will all be used podcast wise, and it just gives my wife something to buy me for Father's Day when they're not sure what to get me for Father's Day, so I'll just go, oh, can I have one of the mugs? Or the travel mug, because my travel mug's smashed to pieces. So so it's just little bits. So if any of you did fancy that in the future, they will be available, and I will post a link. Again, thank you for Versatile Terrain for the competition prize. Like I say, it will be posted. Just got to join us on the Instagram account and like their Facebook group, just so we know, because we have I have a lot of people now on the Instagram account that might not even be part of Necromunda and all of that sort of stuff. They've just joined it because they like the models that I've been posting. So it would be strange if they were randomly going to get these things that they didn't even know existed or why they're there. So we only want you to like the Versatile Terrain page, just so we know that you are actually taking part in the competition, that you do want these pieces, because it would be a shame for the winner to be someone who has no interest in the Versatile Terrain bits and pieces. So it would be strange. So that's why we've done it, that we want you to do two things. And then it's, again, thank you to Promethean Forge and Kevin for the potential competition in the future.
Yep.
And the terrain for today was pretty awesome to have that sort of 3D stuff. Now it's on to stuff that we've seen on the Facebook page. Does anyone else want to go first? There's cool stuff they've seen.
Yeah, I don't mind going first on this, because I think Tom's probably got a fairly exhaustive
I've got
list.
a big old list, and I'll mark off any that you say that I've already got. So I can mark them off.
First up, we've got a guy called Morton Sando, or Sand Zero. He done an Escher squat.
Yep, that's one of mine off my list.
And tick, in a dress, and it just made me smile just looking at it. And he said himself that he's not a great sculptor and stuff, but I must disagree a bit. That it's far better than I could ever do. And he's done a real good job sculpting the face, sculpting hair,
clothes as well,
and he's done it very quick, or it seems to. I don't know, obviously, when he started it, but from when he started posting pictures to seeing it painted and finished, you think, well, that didn't take very long. So it's just like a couple of hobby sessions, maybe. Yeah. And he's managed to achieve that, and I think it's just so funny.
Yeah, it is awesome.
So if you're going to have a special model in your game, what better than that?
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, I'm going to wuss out and go for a dwarf model and 40k it out, but he's just gone straight in and green stuffed one. So
yeah, that's right.
Well done, Morton.
Next thing is I'm going to make a motion for changing the name of this segment to the What's Trevor Goddard Been Up To segment.
that's Trevor off my list as well.
Because once again he's continued to make some more awesome terrain for his table. I think he's taking the lead from the Game War 2 book, where they've got the interesting terrain features which are in the Delta 7 tile pack. So he's created a piece of scenery that's using a computer fan.
The fan,
and stuff. So it's some sort of extractor system blowing air and whatever. So from a game perspective, there are rules for that. But he's created this and once again painted it up to match the rest of his board. It just looks great.
Definitely.
What else? A thing that I've noticed, I haven't seen much from the Kiblams guy who was doing his vertical terrain board. So I don't know whether he's having some away from hobby issues or not. I don't know.
I haven't seen it.
But I'd like to see that a bit more. So I might send him a message and see if he's all right. So
I haven't seen your hobby stuff for a while.
Hurry up and finish your stuff. We're waiting. Who else we got? Stephen Uden. What was that for? That was for doing the colouring in sketches.
Yep. Okay, that's off my list as well.
It made me smile. It's just one of them things you think, well, that's just really good for someone, even for an adult. If you've got an Escher gang and you think, what colours am I going to do in my gang? Rather than messing around doing test models and all that, you can quickly scribble something down, throw some colours on this picture, and it'll give you a rough idea.
It's got that kind of 80s
line drawing sort of feel. Yeah,
that's cool. I like it.
And also,
not the Dread Queens. Is it the Dread Queens? Oh, it must be something else. He done this illustration of his Escher colour scheme. The Dread Queens.
But he's put a blank. He saved a blank one in a file now.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you've got kids, you can just give it to them and colour it.
I like the nostalgic 80s kind of feel. Kind of reminds me of Gem and the Holograms, another 80s cartoon. I keep referring to 80s cartoon.
Let's just hope you were born around the 80s, because you ain't got a bloody clue otherwise. Especially like Jason the Wild Warriors and some of them. Blimey, I'm impressed. But yeah, so bank file is saved on the Facebook group, so if you did want to have a good old colour in.
I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, no, it is good. Let's take it off my list too.
I spotted some plonker in a t-shirt. I don't know who that was. It's just some lunatic with some t-shirt.
Was that mine?
Yeah.
I was going to say, is it you in the mirror?
that kept me. Thank you.
Who's this idiot keeps looking at me?
Yeah. Cheers, Aaron.
No, I do have an awesome t-shirt now.
Yeah,
I'm in an orange. Should I buy it for Salute? My awesome t-shirt.
I don't know how that turned around, because I was taking the mickey out of you with the t-shirt, but you managed to do a 360.
Yeah.
Thing is, used to having the mickey taken out of me, I learned how to deflect.
Deflect.
And then, so stuff that we've seen on the Facebook group. Carrying on, so Michael Green's done two things. So the Armourer hanger-on, which we're talking about hangers-on next episode, based on Master at Arms of He-Man. So one of Aaron's favourite cartoons, because it's based in the 80s.
And a muscly guy with not many clothes on.
Yeah, baby oil.
They're gonna think I'm a little bit,
ticks all the boxes. And then is Kit Bash. Valos, he was a roguing psyker who realised that he could control zombies, so it's part of the old Outlander supplement. So that's really cool.
Vampire-looking type guy.
Yeah, bit Mephisto-y, bit vampire-y, big old collar, psychic hood. So yeah, very cool. I've got Matthew Coles as the Spire Crier, the newsletter that he releases every month.
Yeah, that's excellent. That is.
And the stock report, the two PDFs that I know he releases, so they're always fun to read. Matt Lindsay again for the hobby blog that he does of the alternative miniatures that you can use, so it's a nice little bit of research. And in regards to the question last episode about places where you can find games, I know the Necromunda Yorkshire Facebook group has just opened. There's a group that I'm part of as well, Necromunda MK, which stands for Milton Keynes, which is another place that I'll probably play when I move up to Bedford. Again, there's normal Necromunda Island, and there's one for Swindon as well, Swindon Necromunda. So they're ones that I've seen so far, and I know that people have posted on our page. But if you have started a Necromunda group specifically to try and find people in your area, please carry on posting them on our group as well, just because it means that then it's the how do you make certain groups specific. So with us, it would mean if there's groups where you can go to ask for games and they're not doing it on our group as well, there's an actual Facebook group so you can put in your area and then hopefully find a thing. And then there was like I was saying in the Facebook group, there's a podcast, Two Peas in a Pod. They're very West London, Southwest England based, and on their website they've got a bit where they've tried to flag every single local gaming store and place that will play games. So if you're in the southwest of England, go have a look at their website, because I think they're always asking people to send them more information. So if you have a tournament or if you're in that area, send them the details and they'll put you on their map. But there's stacks of them in the area, so it's really helpful to find something for you. And that's it essentially. We are still recording, so that's a bonus. Is there anything else from you guys?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay, so don't forget the versatile terrain competition. So it's for 12 personalised plates in 32mm base or 55mm base.
25mm even.
Sorry, 25mm. What did I say? 55.
Yeah, it's huge.
I don't even think there's a 55mm base, so that would be a bit of a joke. Yeah. So 32 or 25. So, and they're personalised, so you can have your names on there, and they can fit perfectly for your gang. So just come onto Instagram under Necromunda Tom, follow the group, and like the Versatile Terrain page on Facebook, and that's all you have to do. So next month is Chaos Cults and Hangers On.
Yep.
So Hangers On, lots of opportunity for converting. So it'll be something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm more excited about the Hangers On than I am about the Bounty Hunters.
Yeah.
But I still really want to do the Bounty Hunter that I chose.
I'm definitely going to build the Dog the Bounty Hunter and Beth as well once I've done the terrain.
I think we just need to come up with a custom scenario, I think, to include the Bounty Hunters more easily, because I just feel they're so expensive to include in a regular gang game. But they're so cool.
Yeah, they are very cool. Okay, so that's the end. Come onto Facebook, come join us on the page, and if you can do the review on iTunes, that would be awesome. There's been a couple more since I last looked, so thank you guys. And if we see you in Salute, please come say hello if you don't know us already, and if you do know us already, please say hello, don't run away. It'd be nice to speak to you again. So we've had a long day here with games and recording, so it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, and goodbye.
Bye everyone.
Bye.
Have a good day. And that was the end of Chronicles from the Underhive, a Necromunda and Post Apocalyptic podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. All the things we talk about in this podcast can be found at the Chronicles from the Underhive Facebook group. We'll post up links to all of the websites we discussed and the current projects we're working on. Come and join us and post up your Necromunda projects. We hope to see you there, and may you never roll a double on your gambling deck. And that's it.
Well done, team.
Feel good.
I think we're still. Also, happy Easter.